Would you be the jerk for demanding that your husband go on paid leave at work? We'll get to that in a bit, but first, am I the jerk for laughing at my soon-to-be niece's name? I, 22-year-old female, have a sister, 25-year-old female, and she's 8 months pregnant. She waited later in her pregnancy to talk publicly to our family about what she's going to name her daughter. My sister is quite traditional, and honestly thinking back on it, the name she chose isn't surprising to me. So my mom, dad, sister, her husband, and my grandma were all at my parents' house. And my sister was talking about her pregnancy and what her daughter's name would be. She said she's going to name her Deborah. My grandma loves the name and my parents like it too, but I started laughing unfortunately. My sister immediately called me out and asked me what was funny, and I asked her if she was really going to name her baby that. My grandma stepped in and said it's a pretty name and that it's better than modern kids' names. My mom was pissed off at me and made me apologize to my sister, but I was so surprised at the name that I refused to apologize. Now, my sister isn't talking to me right now, and I've tried reaching out to her multiple times, but nothing. My mom keeps trying to have me apologize to her, but seriously, that name for a baby is crazy to me. I don't understand what's funny or weird about Deborah. I mean, maybe if it was a name that really hit like old school, like I don't know, Mildred or something. But even then, I don't think it's burst out laughing worthy. Do you guys agree that this is just kind of weird? Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit that subscribe button down below? That said, our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my parents the truth about my stepsister's fiance since they now won't pay for her wedding? I, 28-year-old female, have a stepsister Jen, 29-year-old female. Our parents got together when we were teenagers, and Jen and I never clicked. I have nothing against her, we just aren't close. From the ages of 22 to 26, I worked at my stepdad's company and Jen worked there too, and still does. While working there, I became friendly with a colleague, Pete. Everyone in the office would joke about Pete having a crush on me, but I never saw him like that and he never said anything, so I didn't pay much attention to the possibility. However, when I started dating my now husband, things got a bit awkward with Pete. When I quit my job, Pete and I didn't really stay in contact, but we followed each other on social media. It was a few months later that I saw on Pete's social media that he had started seeing Jen. Pete and Jen got engaged last year, and since, my stepdad agreed to pay for the wedding. A few weeks ago, an old colleague got married, so me, Jen, Pete, and my parents were all at the wedding. Pete was a little over-friendly at the reception, which I put down to alcohol. Later in the evening, though, I was outside getting some air and Pete came out and basically propositioned me. I made it clear I was extremely uncomfortable and went back inside. The next day, I called Jen and told her everything. She accused me of trying to ruin her relationship and said that I shouldn't make the whole situation worse by telling her dad, since I'd already done enough to sabotage her relationships. I agreed because I didn't feel I had any right to continue being a spanner in the works. A week ago, I was Skyping my parents and they were talking about Jen's wedding. They were talking about Pete and my face must have changed because they immediately asked if something was wrong. I insisted it was nothing, but it turned out they'd seen Pete follow me out at the wedding and had their own theories about what he'd done to upset me, all of which were worse than what actually happened. After 20 minutes of them thinking the worst, I told them the truth. I begged them to not do anything about it since Jen and Pete worked it out, but my stepdad was livid. He called Jen and they had a huge fight, and he refused to pay for the wedding or even attend. Jen's been calling and texting me and posting on social media about what a horrible person I am for ruining her wedding, and I've had messages from her friends telling me how awful it was for me to tell our parents after she asked me not to, and saying how I've basically ruined Pete's career, etc. I tried explaining that letting them continue assuming would have led to worse consequences, but apparently I should have just been able to hide the whole thing somehow. My friends say I did nothing wrong, but my stepdad's now not speaking to Jen, and her whole wedding has been canceled because of me. So I do feel guilty. Am I the jerk? As much as anybody might want to try to make it out like OP is the reason the wedding got canceled, it's not. Pete is the reason the wedding got canceled. OP wasn't the one trying to ruin this soon-to-be marriage. Pete was the one that propositioned you. Our next story is, am I the jerk for going into my daughter's room while she was asleep? My daughter, 23-year-old female, brought her girlfriend, 25-year-old female, to stay in our house for a few days. It wasn't the first time I, 56-year-old female, met her girlfriend, but it was the first time we knew she was serious about this girl. They went on to stay in a room that I can safely say is usually my workspace with a spare bed. We moved houses after our kids moved out, so our daughter didn't really have a room in this new house. In the morning, I noticed I left my tablet's stylus pen in their room, and I needed it to get on with my work. So I thought I'd wait for them to get up and then I'll get it. I waited an hour and they didn't wake up, so I went into their room, retrieved the pen, walked out and closed the door. I didn't want to wake them up because they'd come a long way on a long flight. My daughter later confronted me about it and said she was extremely uncomfortable by what had happened. She said it was inappropriate for me to go in. I was like, sure, but nothing bad happened. It wasn't a big deal. She was mad and said, what if none of them were wearing something appropriate? And she insisted that this was an invasion of her privacy. I told her that wasn't the case. It really wasn't. I didn't even look, but I noticed they were only cuddling and they were asleep, so nothing was inappropriate in that sense. My daughter left much earlier than planned and demands an apology before ever coming to visit again. I don't think I did something crazy. It was just a second. Does this make me the jerk? In that situation, if you legitimately need that stylus, it's much better to have to wake them up, even if you really don't want to, than try to do some weird sneak around operation. And God forbid you sneak in there and you go to grab it and they wake up and see you snooping around. How does that look? Our next story is, am I the jerk for opening the windows to let in cold air because I'm too hot? I, 24-year-old male, and my wife, 22-year-old female, have been going back and forth for a while about this. I've been pretty sick for the better part of a month. Body aches, nausea, killer headache, and most recently, really bad hives all over my body. I've never had them before, and I have no idea what could have caused them but heat. And being super hot makes them 100 times worse. And since I'm always hot, I try to open the windows and turn the ceiling fans on and turn the heat off in the house to try and cool down so that I don't have to deal with the itching, burning all over my body on top of everything else. My significant other is constantly saying she's absolutely freezing to death. She'll close the windows, turn the heat back on, and shut the balcony door to prevent any of that cold air from coming in. She's not sick, nor is she dealing with any symptoms of anything. When I reopen the window, she says, "Oh, please, can we close it? I'm so freezing cold." And I say no and leave it open, so she gets up and closes it herself. I tell her that I'm too hot and it's making me feel worse, and all she has to say is, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Do you want me to get you anything? But I just need some cold, fresh air." I don't know if it's going over her head or what, but it's getting to the point where I have to take a child shower just to cool off. Apparently, the details in the comments include that OP's been regularly allowing the house to get below 60 degrees Fahrenheit. They have a 6-week-old child in the house. Has OP sought medical help considering it's been almost a month of this? Our next story is, am I the jerk for not splitting my trust fund with my half-sister even though she's pregnant? I, female 23, have a half-sister Kylie, 21, who is the product of one of my dad's affairs. Her birth resulted in my parents splitting up. Mom remarried 2 years later, and my dad moved away shortly after the split and wasn't really a part of my life. I always knew about Kylie, but I only met her when I was 16 through my father. And while we saw each other a few times over the next few years, we never developed a relationship. For most of the past 2 decades, my father's been a gambling addict. He never had much of a stable income and definitely not a stable lifestyle. Because of this, my grandparents fulfilled all the financial stipulations in his divorce. They paid for my education, paid child support to my mother, and set up a trust fund which I got when I was 21. This was all an unofficial arrangement, and they didn't do this for Kylie. I met my fiance at 19, so I've never used any of the money in the trust fund. 2 weeks ago, I was at my dad's for dinner. We live in the same city, and he said that Kylie had asked for my phone number. I said it was okay to give it to her. My dad also mentioned that Kylie is now pregnant. A few days after I got a call from Kylie, she explained that she's working a minimum wage job and living in accommodation that will be unsuitable when she gives birth. She said that since I had a trust fund that she also should have got, I should split it with her so that her child doesn't have to go through what she did. I was totally blindsided by this and said I would think about it. She called me every day after that, saying how she had a lot of expenses now that she was pregnant, and guilt-tripping me, saying the family owes her. I talked to my grandfather, and he said while it's my money, he thinks I'd be an idiot to hand out large sums of money to someone I don't know, and who only wants to know me because she wants money. Ultimately, I felt he was right, and told Kylie I wouldn't be splitting the money with her. She started screaming at me, calling me selfish and spoiled, and basically dumped 20 years of trauma at my door because I had the audacity to be born. She also said it'll be my fault if something happens to her baby, or if he or she grows up poor. I hung up the phone and cried. My grandparents and fiance say I've done the right thing. My dad said he's offered to give Kylie some money, but he doesn't have access to the kind of money in the trust fund because of his addiction. But he says I'm not to blame and that Kylie isn't my responsibility. That said, the things she said about her life and about her child's future were so awful, I can't stop thinking about it. I don't think I'm the jerk for not wanting to give huge amounts of money to a virtual stranger, especially one who was so demanding and rude to me, but I also don't like to think I'm punishing an innocent, unborn child for who their mother is. Am I the jerk? When it comes to you getting a specific amount of inheritance that maybe others don't have access to, there is almost always going to be some relative popping up from the woodshed trying to make you feel bad for keeping it all to yourself and not just sharing a little bit of it. 100%, if you want to keep it for yourself, there's no shame in that. This next story is, am I the jerk for siding with my 35, fiance 26, over my daughter after they got into a huge argument? I share custody with my 17-year-old daughter. I get her every 2 weeks, and she'll come and live with me and my fiance. I work as an ER nurse, so I have weird shifts sometimes. This leaves my fiance and daughter alone together a lot. I thought it would be good for them to get some girl time with each other. I was wrong, they really don't get along. Part of me thinks it's her mother's influence because her mother hates my fiance. So the situation started Friday night. That morning, she asked me if she could go hang out with some friends that night, and I said sure. Her curfew is 11 p.m., which I don't think is unreasonable for a teenage girl. She knows this and knows she will be punished if she doesn't show at 11. That night I had to work, so I asked my fiancée to make sure she was back home safe and sound by 11. I've never had a problem with her missing curfew, so I didn't worry about it. I went to work at 8 p.m. and didn't make it home till around 9 a.m. When I got home, my fiancée was up and clearly distraught. She told me that my daughter came back home past curfew, and when she confronted her on it, my daughter lost her temper and went off. After talking to her, I spoke to my daughter, who said that she was only a few minutes late and that my girlfriend overreacted and tried to punish her. So typically, I don't like to take sides and just try to find some middle ground between them. But this time, I could actually check everything by looking at our home security cameras. My daughter didn't get home until 1 a.m. I interpreted this as my daughter not being fully truthful, so I sided with my partner. I punished my daughter by taking her car keys and stopping her allowance. She and her mother have in response both accused me of caring more about my fiancé more than my daughter, which isn't true. Am I the jerk? I don't think they're in the wrong for punishing them for showing up late and also kind of lying about it, but their fiancé, who's only 9 years older than OP's daughter, probably shouldn't be the one that has to confront her about it and try to act all parental. Our next story is, am I the jerk for throwing out a girl's present for me in the trash and calling her a creepy witch? I, male 18, am a senior in high school, and this creepy girl, female 18, has been following me around for the past few months. I've caught her recording me multiple times, and one of my friends showed me this entire invasive Tumblr page she made of edited pictures of me and her as a couple. I've tried confronting her before and telling her to stop following me around, but she always scampers off when I start talking to her and telling her off. I had to block her on various social medias after she sent me detailed DMs about her weird fantasies of me. I've tried reporting her to my dean with her DMs, but he's completely useless. And my parents don't at all care about how she's creeping me out. They think I should be flattered. A few weeks ago, she came up to me with this small box of cupcakes during lunch. Now, I know she ditched class to come stalk me and find out which cafeteria space I was sitting in for lunch because my friend has physics class with her during my lunch period. I was extremely pissed off that she was approaching me again, so I told her I didn't want her gift and to leave me alone. She kept mumbling sorry, but tried to force the box into my hands or lap. I finally stopped resisting, and as soon as she backed off, I said, "Jesus, you creepy witch." Took the cupcake box to the nearest garbage can and shook it empty into the bin and chucked the box in too. She started crying and ran off, and my friends were half laughing at the situation and half calling me savage and heartless. However, one of my friends texted me later, and she said my reaction was extremely cruel and uncalled for. Am I the jerk? It would be one thing if they were just crushing on OP and maybe the cupcake box was something that they did alone, but when you hear that it's going with this invasive Tumblr page with photoshops of them together, that's already gone way too far, and I don't think OP's out of pocket. I think that would probably be legitimately enough to catch a harassment charge. This next story is, am I the jerk for getting a car towed just a few minutes after it parked in my mom's parking spot? I, 19-year-old male, live with my parents in a small neighborhood with a few condos attached to the row I'm in. We rent out 2 spots for both of our vehicles. One day, as my dad was at work and mom was out grocery shopping, I saw a guy parking his car in our spot. I waited a bit, maybe he was just making a 1-minute pit stop, but he was still away after about 5 minutes, and there were a few visitor parking spots available. So I was baffled why he decided to steal ours. I decided to call for a tow truck, and then they came about 3 to 4 minutes later. I live near a tow truck lot. As the tow truck driver was hooking the car up, the guy came out and saw it. He immediately got into an argument with the tow truck driver and was saying he was only 10 minutes. My mom got home about half an hour later, and I forgot to mention to her what happened. But 10 minutes after she returned, the guy that stole our spot came to our house and argued with me and mom, saying he was only going to be there for 5 more minutes. It got heated, but he eventually walked away, still pissed off. Am I the jerk? 100% not the jerk, and also this guy needs to stop arguing with you and go find wherever their car got taken. Our next story is, am I the jerk for not telling work I'd been discharged from jury duty and having a week's holiday? I was assigned to 2 weeks jury duty in the UK. The law firm I work for approved it. They didn't have any choice, and policy was that I'd get full pay for the 2 weeks. After 1 week and 1 small trial, I was told on the Friday I was discharged and not needed for the next week. Work had no way of knowing this, so I took a week's holiday, stayed at home, rested, and when I went back in, I just said I didn't get selected for any cases in the second week. I told my close friend from law school who also worked at the firm, and she was really cross with me. Said it wasn't fair I got the week off and was saying she should really tell HR and couldn't believe I'd done it. We had a little falling out. I told her I needed the break and she just thought it was unfair. I have a small child, so I enjoyed the bonus time with them. Am I the jerk for taking this time off, or is it none of her business what I did? And is she just jealous she didn't get the break? I think only the real issue here is you went around and bragged about it. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like most people in that situation, as long as there's no obvious repercussions, are probably going to take that extra week off. But yeah, you don't go back to work and immediately tell your coworkers, hey, guess what I did for the last week? You could also say that OP was just unfair because it's kind of stealing and their colleagues will have to do extra work to compensate for OP who is just sitting home enjoying themselves. Our next story is, am I the jerk for asking my daughter to have a new teacher? My boyfriend and I have 2 kids who are 8 and 2. Our oldest was not planned, our younger one was, but they're both the best things to ever happen to us. We're planning 1 more, maybe even 2 more kids in the future. My boyfriend makes enough for me to stay at home, so I'm at home taking care of housework and kids. I've had conferences with our daughter's teacher and everything was fine. I think she assumed I was older. So her teacher was doing this thing with subtraction, and one of the things was how old your parents are. These subtract your age and your answer was how old they were when you were born. My daughter was called wrong. My daughter said she wasn't wrong, she did the math correctly, and the teacher said, your parents are 26? And she said something like, my dad just turned 27. Her teacher asked about our marriage, which I feel is a very inappropriate question to ask a child. I think she asked if she knows when we got married. She said we aren't married. Her teacher looked at the class and said, "Don't be like daughter's parents," and everyone laughed. My daughter was correct. We were 18 years old when she was born. It was not planned and stressful as heck, but looking back, it was a huge blessing because our kids mean the absolute world to the both of us. My boyfriend was born in Germany. He was only there as a baby, so he doesn't have an accent or anything, so nobody knows that. And we've run into a lot of problems getting married because the way that his parents immigrated. Then COVID, and we're finally hoping to be married by the end of 2024. That being said, that's not the teacher's business. I confronted my daughter's teacher and told her that that was uncalled for of her to humiliate my daughter like that, and she should be ashamed. I told her, "What if she was adopted? What would you say then?" And she told me to leave. I went to the principal and told her I want my kid out of that woman's class, and she thinks I'm overreacting. I haven't gotten the chance to discuss it with my partner yet, but I think you'll agree with me. I don't blame OP one bit for wanting their daughter out of that judgmental, awful woman's class. It also sucks that the principal doesn't see the issue here. Our next story is, am I the jerk for not wanting someone to sit next to me on a plane? I, 25-year-old female, had a flight. As we board, the gate agent says the flight is not even half full, and they need us to spread out for even weight distribution. I was sitting in the middle seat, and they kept repeating that the flight was only half full, only 75 people on the flight. Almost literally the last second, a man, 50-ish, walks on and states, "I'll sit next to you," not even asking. So that gave me a red flag about him, and I say, "Actually, my husband is going to sit here." The truth is, I'm traveling alone, but as a young woman, I avoid telling people that. He states, "Then I'll sit at the window." So I say the flight is only half full, there's tons of room, and he just stands there. So I move to the aisle seat to avoid a problem, and he says, "So where's your husband?" I ignore him. He asks again, "Should we have the flight attendants hold the flight for your husband?" With literal air quotes, and I ignore him again, and he says, "So you're just lying to me then? You're probably a Democrat." And I can't stand it anymore, unfortunately, and get loud saying, "Can you shut the freak up? Like, who cares? I don't owe you anything." And then he won't stop calling me a liar, so I say, "My husband is actually deployed in the Middle East, so you can mind your own business." This is true, and a flight attendant comes over and asks me what's happening, so I begin to explain, and of course, he talks over me. So another flight attendant comes over and says I have to move. I look at her dumbfounded because I was there first, and I didn't cause the problem, he did. So she says, "One of you need to move or you're both off the flight." So I just grab my bag and move. Am I the jerk for lying to a stranger because I didn't want to sit next to them on a barely full flight? Based off of everything in this story, no, definitely not the jerk. In fact, I would say OP probably did just about the right thing. This next story is, am I the jerk for letting my toddler watch the neighbor mow the lawn? My toddler, 1.5-year-old male, and I, 25-year-old female, were playing in the front yard today trying to enjoy what little sun we'd been having and get some fresh air. We live in a cul-de-sac, so we can see everyone's front yard from ours. The neighbor's teenage daughter, maybe around 15 years old, comes out with her lawnmower and gets to work on her yard. She lives directly across the street from us. My son loves watching the world go by. He often watches the older kids play on the street and they always interact and say hi to him. So he runs to our fence with his little juice box and sits down in front of the gate so he can watch her mow the lawn. He wasn't always watching her. Sometimes he'd just start picking the dandelions and throwing them around our yard, but most of the time he'd just sit and watch quietly. I kept my eye on him because it's a low fence, and I'd never let him play out front not supervised. I've read horror stories of parents letting their kids play out front and getting snatched. I was also just plodding around the garden and looking into my veg boxes to see what's growing. She kept looking over at my son and then going back to work. I watched her walk over to my fence and she started screaming how it's creepy my son was watching her, and I needed to teach him from a young age not to stare at women or else he'll grow up and be a creep. I got up right away and grabbed my son and apologized and tried to say he's just curious what you're doing, but she kept screaming at me because she doesn't like to be watched. I scooped my son up, who was crying at this point. What baby wouldn't cry being yelled at? And hurried back to the yard so he could play there. She left while angrily muttering to herself about how I'm a bad mother and my son will soon be a creep. I'm now feeling really bad about letting my son watch her mow the lawn, and maybe we shouldn't play in the front yard anymore. So, am I the jerk for letting my son sit and watch? I would say in no way should you let this ruin the time you get to spend playing in the front yard. It would be one thing if this person was teenage or older, but this was a 1.5-year-old toddler. They don't even understand how the world works yet. I don't know what's going on in her life, but there's something I think manifesting there in an ugly way. Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to uninvite my parents and brother from my wedding after they told my fiance she was a controlling witch? My 27-year-old male, fiance Lily, 25-year-old female, and I have been together for 3 years and are currently planning our wedding. Lily grew up fantasizing about her future wedding, so naturally she's very excited for it. However, there are a few concerns I have with her attitude about the wedding. She's become so obsessed with the planning that she gets visibly annoyed whenever I give my input on anything. It makes me really upset because this is my wedding too, and I want to help plan as well. Not only that, but she refuses to acknowledge the choices I do make. I have no idea why, but Lily seems to absolutely despise my brother. When I asked her why, she said he was just really annoying. She absolutely freaked when I told her he was a groomsman. She told me I had to make him a normal guest because she would be uncomfortable with him there. She said I had to choose another person to take his place because she deserves to be happy on her wedding day as well. This resulted in a huge fight between us, and I ended up venting to my parents about my frustrations because Lily won't listen to me about them. Yesterday, me and Lily went to dinner with them, and the topic of the wedding came up. Well, to make a long story short, they all ended up yelling at each other over everything that's happened, and my mom ended up calling Lily a controlling witch. Now, Lily is demanding I uninvite my parents as well, but I don't want to. Now Lily's mad at me, my parents are telling me to reconsider the relationship, and my brother thinks Lily's lost her marbles. Am I the jerk for not wanting to uninvite my parents or brother? I mean, from everything OP described here, I don't think the arguments of OP's family are wrong. She does seem kind of controlling in this whole situation. Our next story is, am I the jerk for requesting my husband go on paid leave at work, or else I was going to my mom's? I, 33-year-old female, am pregnant for the first time. I'm 8 months pregnant and getting closer and closer to my date. I'm supposed to be on bed rest. My husband, though, works very long hours, sometimes close to 16 hours a day. He's a hospitalist at a hospital nearly an hour away. I love my husband. We've been together since high school, but he's never home. He works 7 days a week. Some days are shorter than others, but my husband has an issue with picking up and staying. He's very passionate in his work. The time he is home, he's mostly sleeping or does a little cleanup of the house. Since I've been placed on bed rest, I've decided I'll be staying with my mother till I give birth so I could have some extra help, and my husband wouldn't have to come home and clean up after me. At this point, I have to have someone stand by when I shower, and I didn't want to put that on him. When I brought this up to my husband, he was deeply upset and told me he didn't want me going, that he works that many hours and likes to come home to see me. I told him he'd either have to take his paid leave at work till the end of my pregnancy, or I was leaving. He got upset and said I couldn't make him choose between those things, and that he could take shorter days. But he worked an important job and couldn't pick up and go. I told him he needed to because I needed him too. He's been upset for the past 2 days and says he can't believe I gave him an ultimatum and it wasn't fair to him. I think I'm being perfectly fair. Just because they do enjoy coming home after working all those hours and seeing you doesn't mean that you need to forego getting any kind of help or assistance when you need it during a tough time such as being pregnant. Honestly, I think if the husband truly cared and loved OP, they would be pushing for them to go stay at the mom's so they can have that work while OP continues to make money to support their upcoming family. Am I the jerk for moving out of the apartment my parents bought for me after they made me let my brother live there? They didn't buy it specifically for me, I just didn't know how to phrase it better. When I got into university, my parents purchased an apartment close to the campus so I could live my way without having to deal with other people. I'm not social, and I could best be described as either a misanthropist or curmudgeonly. It was great for 2 years, and I came out of my shell a little. I met other people like me and discovered that, unlike high school, university isn't heck. I even met a guy. We both work at the campus store. My little brother graduated last year and got into the same school. Rather than stay in dorms, he convinced my parents to let him move in with me. Well, they own it, so I had no say. I lasted 1 semester. Since he had an off-campus residence, my apartment became party central. I asked my parents to make him stop. After talking to him didn't work, they said to loosen up. I think they know how to change my personality. I talked to the university and was able to snag a rare single room in the mature student dorm. I don't have a lot of stuff, so when we went home for Christmas, I took what was really important to me. My boyfriend, first one ever by the way, look at me all social now, cleaned out my room and moved my stuff to the student housing for me. When we drove back after New Year's, I dropped off my brother and then went to my new place. It isn't perfect, but it is pretty sweet. My parents called me and asked where I was. My brother had let them know I wasn't in the apartment. I told them where I was and why I was there. They were upset that they spent all that money to help me and I didn't appreciate it. I said I did, until they stuck me with my brother. Without me there, he's having a blast. Good for him. He's also missing a lot of classes and has been fined for noise complaints by the condo board, but that's not my problem. My parents are asking me to please move back in because my brother is in danger of being put on academic probation. I asked if I was allowed to bar him from having parties and stuff. He was a part of the conversation and was upset that I was asking to be put in charge of him. My parents said that he was allowed some freedom and that as his big sister, I should look out for him and not let him fail. I thanked them for the opportunity, but declined. And he recently had a party that the cops had to shut down. My parents are considering selling the apartment, but it's kind of a crappy market right now, I guess. I feel bad that they might lose money after doing something so awesome for me, and I feel bad that my idiot brother might have to take time off school to calm down, but I don't think I'm the jerk. They all do though. It's hilarious how they're actually expecting OP to be in charge of their brother, but their brother doesn't want OP to be in charge. They still want OP to let their brother do whatever they can. They literally can't even make up their mind and paint a clear picture as to what they want. Needless to say, I think it's more than understandable why OP moved out, and they shouldn't be shamed for doing so. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit that subscribe button down below? That said, our next story is, am I the jerk for not asking my child to give up her room? My fiance and I are moving in together. We decided that she should be the one to move in with us since my home is bigger and in a better area. I have a 14-year-old daughter, and she has 2 daughters who are 14 and 16. I live in a 2-bedroom home. A few years ago, I finished the basement and added a bathroom to it and gave it to my daughter. The other room is my office that I was planning to turn into a bedroom for my fiance's daughters. It's a small room, but it's nice and it can fit 2 beds, especially if we had a bunk bed instead of 2 twin beds. And it doesn't have a bathroom, but we don't live in a palace, so it's not that far away from the bathroom. My fiance and I have been talking about the room situation, and we don't seem to be able to agree on anything. She thinks I'm a jerk for planning to let my daughter have the entire basement for herself and force hers to share a small room. I think this has been my daughter's room for years. She decorated it with her mom, and therefore she shouldn't have to give it up. Obviously, her family's on her side and my family's on my side, so we want other opinions as well. Honestly, I don't think there's any great solution here no matter which way you want to go with it. If you force the daughter to give up her room, she's going to be resentful probably forever. If you force the girls to live in that small bedroom in a cramped house, they'll probably be pretty upset. If you give up your master bedroom and move into the small room yourself with your partner, you'll probably be upset. Is there a clear choice here? Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my fiance that my friend's trauma is more important than her comfort? My best friend lost a parent 1.5 years ago, which led him to a mental health crisis. Our friend group has been picking up the pieces ever since. He's doing much better now that he's in therapy, but he's definitely gone through it. What has complicated matters worse is my fiance. It goes without saying that I love her, but she is the definition of a busybody sometimes. My best friend is a very private person. She knows something happened with him, but she doesn't know the details of what that something is. She probably never will. But because she's around me and my friends often, as my fiance and I live in the same house, she hears bits and pieces of the story and presses for more information. I try to circumvent this as best as I can. For example, I step out of the room for specific phone conversations, but still, it's hard to limit the discussion about it sometimes. If it's necessary, we bring it up and she's around in person. We'll refer to it as the Nolan situation without giving specifics. Nolan will also stop by my place at night when he can't sleep. This doesn't happen all that often, maybe twice a month. He'll text me or call me saying he's outside. I'll go sit with him and maybe smoke a little bit, then he'll head home. I'll wait up until I know he got home safely and then I go back to sleep. My fiance hates this. She claims the phone calls always wake her up. They don't. She just sometimes happens to wake up for the bathroom while I'm outside, and that me not being in bed is alarming. This brings us to last night. Nolan stopped by, and when I came back inside, my fiance said she was putting a stop to it. She said all the sneaking around is making her paranoid. She doesn't feel like she can properly trust me or be a part of my friend group without knowing the details, and that Nolan needs to stop relying on me so much. I told her that no matter whether we're married, dating, whatever, she will never have any ownership over my friend's trauma and that she's never going to be able to order me around in regards to it. I also said her comfort was less important than someone's actual physical well-being. She was obviously hurt by this and went to stay with her mom after work today. Am I the jerk? Definitely not the jerk. I mean, just imagine he shows up and everybody's code talking. People are visibly trying to avoid you with phone calls, secretly meeting up. Absolutely not. Our next story is, am I the jerk for having no empathy toward my overly emotional wife by not picking her up? I'm 26-year-old male, wife is 23-year-old female, and we've been together 3 years if relevant. Lately, my wife's been emotional, like every little thing sets her off. There wasn't a banana? She cries. No sugar? She cries. Missed her bus? She cries. I'd almost think she was pregnant, but we discovered after a year of trying to conceive that she's infertile. This was 2 months ago. She also recently had a baby start at her nursery, which also sets her off, so it's been a tough time. I've tried to be empathetic, but it's all the time tears. I'm so tired. Like each time she cries, I'll drop what I'm doing to comfort her, even if she calls me at work. She walks an hour to work after a bus journey. She leaves at 6:30 to get at work at 9:30. That's how long the travel is. I told her I'd drive her. She didn't want me to. I told her to take an umbrella and she forgot. She called me sobbing because it rained like I said it would. She asked me to pick her up and I said I couldn't because I had a meeting. She said, I'm sure they'll understand. And truthfully, they have been understanding, but it's all the time and I did warn her. I refused. She did get huffy, and when we got home that night, she wasn't crying, shocker, but was mad, and hasn't spoken to me since. But we haven't seen each other much as she gets home late and still has work to do, coursework, etc. I asked a friend who insisted I'm the jerk, but my wife texted me to say she's considering taking driving lessons in June, which I thought was a win, but she's apparently still angry. Am I the jerk? I mean, has OP communicated and tried to understand why she's feeling so touchy? Does she have a condition? Should she be in some kind of therapy? I guess OP clarified in a comment that she refuses to go to therapy. Although it doesn't have to be therapy. I mean, it could even be like a thyroid issue that's causing mood swings. Either way, I don't think OP did anything too heinous here. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my dad I won't go anywhere with him if his wife is there? My 38-year-old female parents got divorced about 14 years ago after my father had been having an affair with his current wife Brenda for 5 years. Not only this, but he was absolutely horrible to my mom in the process and really screwed her over. I was angry with him and went no contact with him for 4 years after. My grandfather on my dad's side before he passed away told me to try and make amends with my father. As I loved him very much, I agreed to try. I slowly tried to build a relationship back with him and things have been okay but strained because trusting him has been hard. I also don't like Brenda. I did try, but we have nothing in common. She's a very gossipy person who talks trash about so many people, and I'm more interested in world events and science and psychology. I lived nearby until about 3 years ago and made an effort to see them once a month. I've now moved a 4-hour drive away and can only get up once or twice a year to visit. On one visit a couple years back, Brenda started talking about my half-sister, saying if she had raised her, she wouldn't have all the problems she did, and that my mom was wrong in how she managed her mental illness. Without going into as much detail, my sister has bipolar disorder and was very hard to manage in her childhood, and after years of trying to get her help and her running away, my mom agreed to let her go live with other family as she asked. It was either that, or she was going to live in a group home most likely. I snapped at Brenda saying she wasn't there and she has no idea what she was talking about. I was little, but I remember all the pain my family was going through and how hard it was for mom to let her go. Since then, every time we've gone out together, Brenda refused to talk to me. She won't respond if I say hello. She stares at her phone and talks to my dad as if I'm not there. I asked him to say something about it because it's rude and uncomfortable, and he just says he can't tell her what to do and we need to work it out. I told him if that's the case, I will only visit with him and not if she's around. He says I'm being dramatic, and if Brenda isn't invited, he won't come either. I told him if he won't leave her behind, then he won't be seeing me anymore either. I love him, but I'm not going to let her disrespect me anymore. He's making me feel like I'm being the jerk because I want to see him, but I don't want to let her treat me this way. Definitely not the jerk. OP should just stand their ground and be insistent that you love and want to see your father, but you cannot continue to be disrespected by this person. End of story. Our next story is, am I the jerk for making my brother's vegan girlfriend feel alienated at my engagement dinner? I, 24-year-old female, recently got engaged and had an engagement party dinner this past weekend. I'm currently still receiving backlash from this and want to get some outside opinions if I was in the wrong. My fiance and I invited both of our immediate family and close friends to this dinner, about 30 people. The dinner was held at a nice Italian restaurant in my city. Our invites gave our guests the option to choose between a meat option and a fish option for their mains. It's important to note that the only people in both mine and my fiance's family that have, food restrictions are my dad and stepmom, as they're pescatarian. But a lot of people in our family love seafood, so the fish option was chosen more than the meat option. My younger brother, 20-year-old male, contacted me about a week before the dinner to RSVP and asked if he can bring a +1, his new girlfriend. He chose the meat option. Now, my brother dates around a lot and is always bringing new girls around, so I wasn't aware that he was even in a relationship. I told him sure and I'd have an extra seat for her. Night of the dinner comes. Everyone's having a good time. I met my brother's new girlfriend. She seemed very sweet. When it came time to eat, she pulled one of the waiters aside and loudly asked him, "Is there any vegan options?" The waiter looked confused and said, "We have a fish and a meat option for the mains. I can offer you a salad and some roasted potatoes and other veggies as a substitute if you wish." Brother's girlfriend started getting mouthy with him and said, "Well, what if I don't want a salad, huh? You just assume because I'm vegan I only eat salads? What if I want some pasta? What kind of restaurant is this? This is discrimination." My brother started trying to calm her down, but she started going off on me, saying how, "Why would you pick a restaurant that doesn't have vegan options? Many people are vegan nowadays. It makes me feel alienated that you couldn't even think to accommodate me." I explained to her that the only people that have food restrictions here are pescatarians. So that's what I considered when I chose the restaurant. I didn't even know she was coming until a week ago. The reservation had been booked a month ago. She started saying it's embarrassing on my part that I can't accommodate all my guests, and called me small-minded. I told her, "Sorry I didn't think to accommodate you. I'll consider that in the future. Hopefully you'll be around long enough for me to be able to do so." She ended up leaving. My brother walked out with her and has been messaging me saying that I should apologize to her because I embarrassed her in front of everyone. I told him she embarrassed herself. My mom's also been on my case to apologize, to be the bigger person and keep the peace. Am I the jerk for making her feel alienated? I definitely don't think this is OP's jerk. This was sprung on them last minute, and the brother didn't even mention that she was vegan. She was the one that got all feisty and blew up and stuff. OP doesn't have anything to apologize for. She just comes off as horribly spoiled. This next story is, am I the jerk for asking my stepdaughter to cook for us? My 45-year-old male, stepdaughter, 17-year-old female, is a phenomenal cook. I'm talking homemade pasta sauces, scratch baking, heck, sometimes imported seasonings. But she only does it for herself. She's been fine cooking when I ask her to do it for us, but only on rare occasions. When we're all busy and need to do DIY dinner nights and can't all sit around the table, you can smell her homemade garlic pesto or vegan teriyaki stir-fry all over the house. And it gets irritating. We get her ingredients that she uses up quickly and never makes meals to share with, and I'm getting annoyed. So I asked her earlier tonight if she would start making dinner for us all more frequently. I didn't say every night, and she got annoyed and mouthy with me, saying that she's drowning in schoolwork, her internship, and her commissions, very talented digital artist, and can't babysit us because you never learned to cook. She claims her sparse dinner preparations are a treat when she's up to the task and feeling nice, and she can't be expected to come up with something new and fresh every night. She's doing it for herself anyway, why not for the rest of us? So I told her to just do the dishes and go to her room. She did the dishes and stomped off and hasn't come out since. And my wife thinks I'm the jerk here, but I think I'm in line. She lives under my roof and doesn't pay rent, and she's already cooking every night for herself anyway. Am I the jerk? So you're saying that the 17-year-old minor lives under your roof? It's kind of how it's supposed to work, I think. Also, said minor doesn't make dinner every night for you? I just don't think that's usually how it normally happens. And honestly, I understand where she's coming from. She wants to make one treat for herself. Obviously, Opie's going to great lengths to dance around the fact that making servings for more people, 3, 4, I don't know how many people, is definitely more time consuming and a lot more work than just one meal for one person. Our next story is, am I the jerk for grounding my daughter for leaving her sister with the neighbor? I'm the single mom of 3 kids, Polly, 16-year-old female, Trevor, 12-year-old male, and Cassie, 8-year-old female. I have little to no support. Their father left after Cassie was born, no family nearby, etc. I have 2 sitters that I can call on as needed, and I use them before I'd ever ask Polly for help. I don't want her missing out on her teenage years. Before this incident, I only ever asked her to babysit once because I had no one else and I paid her $15 an hour, at the time above minimum wage. This past Saturday, Polly was due to hang out with some friends. For a couple of days, Trevor was ill but testing negative for COVID. That day, he spiked a very high fever and I had to take him to the ER. I asked Polly to watch Cassie as the sitters weren't responding. I apologized that she'd have to miss out on time with friends, but said I'd pay her and she could even have her friends over at our place. Polly pitched a fit and asked why I couldn't send Cassie to the neighbors. We don't know them. They moved in last month, and outside of waving when we get our mail, I don't have a relationship with them. Polly was irritated. I told her I'd pay her $18 an hour and that I had to go. I take Trevor to the ER and we have to wait a bit. Polly kept asking if the sitters responded and they hadn't. Eventually, it was our time to be seen, so I told Polly I'd be out of reach for a bit. Turns out Trevor had a bad case of RSV and, due to pre-existing health problems, had to be admitted for the night. I was terrified. When I called Polly to update her, I heard people talking in the background and said, "Oh, you had your friends come over." She told me no, she dropped Cassie at the neighbors and went out. I was furious. I told her to go home and get her sister. I then asked for the neighbor's number. She didn't even ask for it, which I get, teenager logic and all, but still. First, Polly refused until I told her she was grounded. I made her FaceTime me when she got home to show that Cassie was with her. Eventually, my mom was able to make the 2-hour drive down to stay with the girls, but I told her not to let Polly leave the house. The next day, Trevor and I were able to go home. I lectured Polly about what she did and grounded her for 2 weeks. She got mad at me and said that I can't expect her to drop her plans. I point out I never do, but this was an emergency and her brother was sick. She told me that's not her problem. She's also mad because I won't pay her. I apologized profusely to the neighbor who said it was okay and that he would have called me, but Polly didn't leave my number either. Polly said I overreacted. Am I the jerk? Definitely not an overreaction, because you don't know these people. That's an 8-year-old you just left with people you don't even know. You haven't as much as just waved at them. And not only that, but there was no form of contact with the outside world with people who matter connected to that 8-year-old. I can't believe Polly didn't at least give her number. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my friend she's losing friends because her world revolves around her kid? So I, 20-year-old female, have a friend, let's call her Anne, 23-year-old female, who got pregnant from a one-night stand. The father didn't want to do anything with the child, so she's a single mother. Her daughter Kate, 2 years old, is really cute. I love babysitting her, but she's all Anne cares about now. For example, she often cancels meetings with friends because of her. I understand that sometimes things come up, but this happens often, and she gives reasons like, Kate is really clingy today, or Kate really wants to go to the zoo. And even if she is there, her daughter is all she can talk about. She shows us a bunch of pictures, talks about her sleeping, her eating habits, her diaper content, her favorite songs, everything. And while I would be interested in them, if you don't stop her, she can literally talk about this for hours. And even if I try to change subjects, the topic of Kate comes up again and again. A week ago, we had a 2-hour-long coffee meet, and when I asked the server for some water, she said, Kate to drink more water. And then for the rest of the meet was about how she wants to teach Kate to drink more water. Yesterday, I babysat Kate, and I stayed there after Anne put her to sleep. We started talking, and the topic of being a single mother came up shortly. She told me how hard it is to parent alone and how distant she feels from her peers. I try to be empathetic because I understand that being a young single parent is always challenging. But then she said how people show their true colors and listed a few of our friends who have been distant with her. She called them fake friends and witches, which I didn't like. I told her most of those friends wanted to be child-free and that maybe talking about Kate made them uncomfortable. She dismissed it and said that if they were true friends, they would love her kid as much as her. I told her that she's having unrealistic expectations, and that just because her world revolves around Kate, it doesn't mean that everybody's does too. She got really upset and accused me of shaming her for being a single mother. I said I'm just trying to point out that not everybody cares as much about Kate as her, and her constantly talking about her kid can be tiring. She got angry and told me to leave, so I did. Today, I woke up with angry messages from our friends saying that Anne is a struggling mom, and I should have shown her support. I feel bad about how I phrased it, but I don't think I was being a jerk here. I do understand that Kate is a very big part of her life, and that she wants to talk about her, but I think there's a healthy limit to that. I'm closer to Kate than most of our friends. Some of them never met her. So it's like hearing about a stranger's every little habit all the time. But tell me, am I the jerk? Obviously, I know the two are not even close to being comparable between a baby and a dog, but let's just say for the sake of examples, you have a friend who's been your friend for a long time, and all of a sudden they get a dog, and you go and you hang out with them, and all they can talk about all the time is their dog and the funny things they do when they go on a walk and how they sleep upside down and like to lay with you and the kind of chew toys they like, how they have an undying need to stare at you while they're taking a poo, and that's all they talk about all the time. You would see how it gets really old and you kind of have less interest in hanging out with them, and you might get a little distant if that's just all they're going on about. And when you try to change the subject, it eventually finds its way back to, man, it's so hard being a dog owner and having to take care of the dog and blah blah blah. This next story is, am I the jerk for buying an apartment for my sister-in-law to live in and making a profit? My sister-in-law Diane was a nurse in the Pacific Northwest. She lived in a very high cost of living city. 15 years ago, she bought herself a small apartment in a new development. It took about 2 years to build. In that time, the price of apartments in that building went up by about 30%. She didn't sell it because it was perfect for her. Unfortunately, she was diagnosed with breast cancer about 2 years after she took possession. She really didn't want to move back to Minnesota, so she asked her family for money to keep up with the mortgage. None of them had the money, and her mom really wanted her to move home. I was friends with her before I married her sister, just friends, nothing more. She asked me for help. I bought the apartment off of her, I took over the mortgage, I didn't charge her rent, I paid all the taxes and condo levies. She got enough money from her insurance and a side hustle to live there. My wife knew we were helping her, but we didn't say anything because her mom was pissed that she didn't move home after her diagnosis. Diane passed away last month. She had a hard life for the last decade, but she was happy. When her mom got a copy of the will, she was furious. The apartment is worth a lot of money now. It's in a great building in a good neighborhood. She was expecting the apartment to sell and for there to be money to split up amongst all of her grandchildren. Diane never married and never had kids. Mother-in-law found out about the deal I made with Diane. My wife and I own the apartment outright. After we clear it out and get rid of all of her stuff, we're going to rent it out. The income it'll generate will pay for our retirement in a while. And when we sell it, our kids will have a nice nest egg to help them. But now my mother-in-law told everyone how we took advantage of her daughter in her time of need and stole her apartment, and how Diane would be upset if she knew that we were not sharing all the money from the apartment. It's really starting to bug my wife, and she's saying that we should sell it and help out all the nephews and nieces. I showed her a spreadsheet of all of our costs for the apartment. If I subtract all of my costs and all of my lost opportunities for investment, when everything is done, the 8 nieces and nephews might get $3,000 each. I said if she wanted, we could give them that much to get her family not to drop it. Her family says that it's BS and that we should sell the apartment and split it equally. I said I would be willing to do that in return for each of them paying 1/3 of the money I invested over the last 10 years. They don't think that's fair. My wife's upset and her family's upset, and I'm just trying to be fair to myself. I spent 10 years giving up other investments and toys for myself and helped out Diane instead. And now I'm getting crapped on. Full disclosure, I knew it was a good investment. It wasn't fully altruistic. I think OP's absolutely in the right here. They know the truth. They know they didn't steal this from Diane. They did it to help her out, and it was a good investment. It's just she passed away and everybody thinks they have some kind of ownership over some kind of asset now, and they're willingly poo-slinging around trying to get some kind of cash. Of course they're gonna say, oh, it's not fair, you should just give us all that money and be done with it. Well, yeah, that sure would be nice, wouldn't it? I'm sure that email I got from that Nigerian prince is gonna go through too, right? Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my son that he needs to respect his mother? I have a son, 20-year-old male, who's studying engineering in college. And as of recent, he's found the study material a little difficult and rightfully needs to work on. A few days ago, he came home from the dorm for the weekend to cool off a little bit. On Sunday, my wife came into my son's room, and I could tell he was a little agitated trying to work on something he didn't fully understand. My wife tried to console and reason with him, but he ended up raising his voice at her, telling her to leave him alone. Then my wife just told him to pack his bags and that he's going back to the dorm. He can't be here if he's going to act like this. My son tried to talk over her to shut her up, but my wife wasn't having any of it, telling him that she wouldn't relent until he either calms down or packs his stuff, and that she will not be held emotionally hostage by my son. And then he started calling her an overbearing witch and all sorts of other nasty names, to which I had to bark at my son and tell him to stop right now and that he does not call my wife names, or there will be problems if he doesn't de-escalate. She's just doing what she thinks is in his best interest. And he finally relented. Later that evening, my son made a comment about how he chatted with his friends, who told him that my wife was in the wrong. But I had to say that they don't feed us, they don't pay our bills, they don't know us, and that he needs to stop consulting his echo chambers and learn to forgive his mother and forget this, as he needs to respect her for getting him to where he is today, and because she's his mother. He tried to tell me that respect is a two-way street, but I said by that logic, should his mom call him the nasty names that he does to her? Should we call up his grandma and tell her to cut his college funding? And that if he finds someone to be annoying and getting on his nerves, what should he do? Ignore it? To which he responded with, BS, control your darn wife, and I had to disengage. Since my son went back a couple nights ago, he's refused to answer our calls and only responds to our texts, asking us to apologize. No ifs, ands, or buts, but has told his grandma about us threatening to tell her to pull his funding, which she proceeded to give us an earful over and said that she'd pay for it no matter what, and called it really sad if we, his own parents, would be less proud of him than she is by even asking to do such a thing. I can't believe he went and told her about this, but now after what she said, I don't know how to feel about this. Sometimes I know I can be frustrated and agitated with something, and the last thing I need is to have anyone, whether it's my mom or anybody, trying to pat me on the back and calm me down. Sometimes with something, I need to just be agitated while I'm trying to work through it. I'm not saying I'm slamming the desk and ripping stuff up, but I think you have a right to be a little frustrated while you're trying to figure this darn thing out, and you just want a little space. He's basically crying out, "Leave me alone," and everybody's immediately responding, "How dare you get aggressive?" Am I the jerk for not wanting to split expenses proportional to income? I live with my boyfriend in a flat he owns, fully paid off. His father gave it to him. The whole building was built 6 years ago, and it's in a very popular area. I pay my boyfriend half of the market rate rent, which we update every year by looking at how much the flats are being rented out for in the building complex, which is a lot of money, but I agreed to it. Other than this, we did everything else 50-50 in the past. I got a new job with a significant pay increase, and now my boyfriend says we should start splitting expenses proportional to income, because that's fair. I told him I don't think it's fair that I should start paying for more just because I got a new job and nothing else changed. I already pay him rent, enough rent that would get me a same-sized flat a few streets away, so it's more than fair to him. He made some, in my opinion, very weak arguments and accused me of ripping him off. That's when I told him that under no circumstances we will split expenses proportional to income. Now that I've calmed down a bit, I'm worried whether I'm in the wrong, especially since my best friend told me that this is how they do it with her boyfriend too, and my boyfriend owning the flat is irrelevant here. Am I the jerk? I think OP's probably not the jerk, honestly, unless you're making all of a sudden an easy 6 figures or something where maybe it is worth a discussion. Just making a little bit more than somebody else doesn't mean that you have to all of a sudden burden more of the rent. I mean, he already owns it outright, so it's not like he's paying rent himself. I think you're already probably paying too much considering you pay him apparently full market rate. I would think a lot of people would probably not even charge their significant other anything besides, actual expenses that they have to cover. Am I wrong here? Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit that subscribe button down below? That said, our next story is, am I the jerk for not cleaning up after my nephew and making my pregnant sister do it? I, 28-year-old female, live with my husband, 32-year-old male, and we have no children. We finally bought our own home and moved in last month. My sister Tess has a son, 8-year-old male, and they came over for the first time yesterday. My husband wasn't at home, so it was just us 3 there. Tess is currently 7 months pregnant with her second child. The issue started with my nephew asking me where the bathroom was. I showed him. He was in the bathroom for about 2 minutes, and he came out and everything was fine until I went in there. I went in and he peed on the floor and toilet seat instead of in the actual toilet. There was a lot. I come out asking Tess to come in here, and I showed her. I asked her if she could clean it up, and she said she was way too tired to clean and asked me to do it. I told her that is disgusting and she's capable of cleaning up after her son. She then told me if I was being serious and that she's pregnant and it's hard to clean up. I asked her what she does at her home and if she even cleans there, and she got pissed at me and reluctantly cleaned it up. Tess eventually left. She gave me a cold look before she left and hasn't spoken to me since besides the text, "freak off." Word got to my mom and I got a call from her telling me that she cannot believe that I'd make Tess do that, and that I'll never understand pregnancy. She knows I'm child-free, and I don't understand how tiring it is to be pregnant. I feel like I'm going crazy here. My husband agrees with what I did, but my mom and sister are not so happy with me. Am I the jerk? I mean, yeah, if your 8-year-old nephew cannot aim for the toilet, it's not your job to clean up after them. You shouldn't be expected to. I mean, it would be nice if you help her out, but I don't think you're the jerk for not wanting to. If anything, the 8-year-old should be the one to clean it up, and they should understand what they did wrong. This next story is, am I the jerk for choosing my senior cat over my sister and potentially allowing her to become homeless? I'll preface this by saying that my mother treated my sister and I differently. I was always less than, while she could do no wrong. She'd always buy my sister everything she wanted while I wore her hand-me-downs. I moved out at 18, worked through college, went no contact with mom and low contact with sister, and our paths diverged greatly from there. I now work in a field that pays well while she's a stay-at-home mom. I guess I never quite got over this, and while I know the main jerk is my mother and my sister didn't really know any better, I still fester negative feelings towards both of them. I found Tom in a bag as a newborn kitten. He was the only one still alive, and I raised him over summer break when I was 13. Then when school started, my mother got rid of him, and I had to go through great and extreme lengths to find out where she dumped him. Took me a week to find him, and we've been together ever since. For a few months, Tom hasn't really been okay and has been slowly declining. The vet, however, based on the recent blood panel we did, was confident that he still had some life left to live and said that he's by far the healthiest geriatric cat she's seen in a while. Thus, we decided to try out surgery to improve his quality of life, even though he's 21. This surgery comes with a price tag. I'm not in the US, but it's around 3 months worth of minimum wage in my country. It won't set us back much, hardly an inconvenience, but we'll be frugal just in case complications happen. He's scheduled for Monday, fingers crossed. Anyways, my sister dropped by on Sunday, which was strange. We haven't spoken since she'd masked me a Merry Christmas gift on Facebook. Looks like her husband jumped onto the NFT bandwagon and they're kind of broke and a few months behind on mortgage, and asked if I could help her out with the payments since they're at risk of becoming homeless. I said I'm sorry she's going through this, but this isn't a good time for me either, and listed the reasons above. I don't ever want to be in a situation where my cat's life depends on $100 that I can't afford to pay. I suggested that she got a job and maybe downsize or move in with mother while they get back up on their feet. She did not take this well, called me a runt and a crazy cat lady that's going to end up alone, plus some other nice words. I kicked her out. My mother and other relatives have been spamming me through the week for being heartless and caring more about an animal than my own flesh and blood. My husband says I could have just given her some cash to avoid the drama, and he's right, I could have. This is why I feel like I might be the jerk. In the end, the main reason I chose not to help is due to my childhood baggage. Am I the jerk? I think really the main reason why OP's not the jerk is regardless of situation or circumstance, they're not entitled to your money. OP doesn't actually owe them any of this money to begin with, so they can't be shamed or called the jerk for not coughing up. Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to pay for a pair of shoes my son destroyed? For some general context, I, female 37, am a divorced mother of 2, and I have custody of my kids for the majority of the year due to the fact that their father, male 38, travels for work. But when he's in town, it's not uncommon for him to want to spend the week with them. My kids were at their father's for the week last week, and when they came back, my son, male 17, brought me a receipt for a pair of $700 shoes that he needed to pay for. Obviously, I was confused, and so my son explained that while he was at school, he accidentally stepped on a kid's shoes. My kid's shoes were muddy from being outside, and apparently the mud caused so much damage to these expensive shoes that they needed to be replaced. I called my ex to get some further clarification, and he told me that it was our job as parents to set a good example to our kids and show that we fix things when we make mistakes, which is why he told this kid's mom that I would pay for a new pair of shoes. His reasoning for this was that I received child support from him and that I should have enough money to replace these shoes. I ended up calling the mother of this kid to try and talk to her to explain that I'd not agreed to pay for these shoes, which caused her to get very upset with me over the phone, because my ex had told her that we would cover the shoes and that it was our right to pay for these shoes. At this point, I was pretty frustrated and told her that if her son was so worried about his shoes, he shouldn't wear them to school. I told her this was all just a mistake that happened, but that I wouldn't be paying for a new set of shoes. Since then, the mother has told me she would seek legal counsel if I didn't pay, but I've decided to stick to my guns on this. Yeah, I'm sorry, mud or not, that's not destroying a shoe, and if you have a shoe that can get destroyed by getting dirt on it, I agree with OP, you shouldn't be wearing that to school. Now, if OP's son went and took like scissors or a knife and cut up the shoe, then yeah, but can you still wear it and can it be a functional shoe outside of optics? Then it's not damaged. Our next story is, am I the jerk for going off on sister's boyfriend and getting him kicked off the trip? I, 32-year-old female, went to Disney World with my sister, 30-year-old female, and her boyfriend, 30-year-old male. I thought before the trip he was okay, but when we got to Magic Kingdom, he began to get on our nerves. saying inappropriate jokes loudly and repeatedly, even when he was told to stop. Then at dinner, he said stuff about our mom that was not okay. I should have said something then, but I was just not in the mood. When we were watching the fireworks, he was screaming at us to move faster so that he wouldn't miss the bus. The last straw was when he began to scream at my sister, calling her names and just putting her down. She was crying. I saw red and snapped at him. I told him we invited him and he does not have the right to treat anyone, let alone my sister or any member of my family, that way. He then called me an R word, I'm autistic, and that because I'm 32, I need to grow up. That set my sister off and she threw him off the trip, got him off the hotel room, off the park reservations and the other dining reservations. We had to get him removed from the property by security. While we were at Epcot, I got a message from him saying that I ruined his first trip to Disney, and he was looking forward to this. He also recently messaged me saying I'm the reason my sister broke up with him. So guys, am I the jerk? I think this is pretty obvious that OP's definitely not the jerk. If anybody's the jerk, it's this guy going around throwing the R word, screaming, complaining. I remember reading somewhere recently that one of the greatest ways to test whether your relationship is real or not is going on the Disney trip. If you and your partner can withstand hours in line and in a crowded place, probably in the heat, not only that but still have a great time, then you probably know you're fairly compatible. This next story is, am I the jerk for showing my boobs to a little boy? For the last few years, I, 36-year-old female, have been taking dance classes at the local community center. I go there after work, usually arrive about 15 minutes before the class starts and change there. It's a small center, so there's only 2 changing rooms, one for men and one for women. As there are lots of different types of classes at the center, the changing rooms are usually full of people dressing and undressing. The classes I'm taking are belly dance classes. The clothes we wear are not your typical gym clothes, but more suitable for this kind of dance. Skirts, crop tops, shiny scarves around the hips, but it's still a sport, so I wear a sports bra. Yesterday, I arrived a little bit earlier than most times and found the changing room empty. When I was putting on my sports bra, the straps got tangled in my hair and I was struggling to put it on correctly. And just as I was panicking, I heard a voice yell, "Boobies!" I turned around and saw this little boy about 5 staring. I quickly covered my chest with the first thing I could find, and it just happened to be a belly dance scarf, one of those ones with coins and sparkly things attached to it. Then I just stepped aside and managed to put on the darn sports bra. I was about to forget this whole thing when a woman about my age appeared next to me and started scolding me. At first I didn't understand what she was saying, but then I heard, "Why are you exposing yourself to my boy?" And once again, I panicked as I thought I was in the men's room. But I looked around and there were other women there. In fact, the little boy was the only non-female in the room. I learned later on that a new class was taking place at the center, something like Mommy and Me dance lessons, so there were children there with their mothers. I politely explained to the mother that this was the women's locker room and I was just changing, not deliberately exposing myself to small children. But she heard none of it and yelled at me for not being immoral, that the boy is going to be traumatized, that I have to go change in the bathroom and all kinds of crazy crap like that. I tried ignoring her, put on the rest of my clothes and tried escaping. But then she took issue with my dance clothes and called me a few choice words not suitable for children's ears. I told her again that this was the girls' room and she has to expect to see that there. That if that was a problem, she should go somewhere else. Then I finally managed to escape. When my class started, I talked to a few of the women taking the class and told them what happened. I expected sympathy, but they told me that when they saw the children at the locker room, they went to change in the bathroom, and that since I don't have kids, I don't understand that what I did was bad. And now I don't know. Was I wrong? Like, seriously, am I supposed to go change in the bathroom from now on? Am I the jerk? Thank you. I don't know what's wrong with these people, but locker rooms are meant to be locker rooms. You're meant to change in the locker rooms, and God forbid, I'm assuming this takes place in America, and I know it's a lot more trivialized here, but God forbid if you go into a locker room, you're probably going to see nudity. I mean, how many times have you seen a depiction of how somebody goes into the men's locker room and they see that one old man sitting there bare naked on the bench? It's kind of just to be expected. It's like if somebody with a peanut allergy went to a store and got offended because they have a front display full of jars of peanut butter. Like, what do you expect? This next story is, am I the jerk for not giving up the elevator to someone with dog phobias if I and my dog were waiting for the elevator before they arrived? I live in an apartment with a small elevator that can only fit 2 people. Last night, my husky and I were waiting for the elevator when a guy arrived and rushed into the elevator with us. He started looking scared when my dog looked at him. I was confused as the elevator is very small and didn't know what to do. He yelled, "Keep that dog away from me," multiple times. Honestly, not much I can do. The place is just way too small. The elevator's probably 1 square meter, and I and my dog are just in a corner. He's in the other corner yelling at us. I exited the elevator at my destination, wondering if I was in the wrong. Should I have left the elevator and allowed him to ride? The entire wait time for the elevator is a maximum of 1 minute. Am I the jerk? Should I have handled things differently? As long as you and your dog have the right to be there and use the elevator, this guy has literally 0 complaints, especially if you were there first. Like, maybe I could understand if they were there first and they said they're afraid and they want to stay away, then maybe, okay, let them go. But if anything, they should be the ones that got in line. This next story is, am I the jerk for embarrassing my sister-in-law after she expected me to pay her and her friend's bill? So I, 25-year-old female, went out for dinner with my sister-in-law's 28-year-old female bachelorette party this past weekend. Between my sister-in-law and my husband, 26-year-old male, sister-in-law has always been the golden child of the family. Growing up, my in-laws coddled her and gave her everything that she wanted, while my husband always got the crappy end of the stick. She was always the popular girl in school, cheerleader, lots of friends, all the boys loved her, while my husband was always a little more nerdy and got picked on quite a bit. Even my in-laws would give him a hard time about this and say he needed to be more like his sister. Well, fast forward to today, both my husband and I went to top schools, got our degrees, and currently have very well-paying jobs in tech. I'm not trying to sound braggy, this is just for context, but we live in a very, very comfortable life. Sister-in-law still currently lives at home with my in-laws, where they foot all of her bills. She had my niece, 4-year-old female, with her ex, and is currently on marriage number 2. This past weekend, I was invited to this fancy upscale restaurant in my city for sister-in-law's bachelorette party. She just wanted to do a nice dinner. There were 8 of us in total. At the end of the dinner, the bill comes out and the waiter hands it to me. I'm sitting there confused for a second until sister-in-law speaks up and is all, "My parents and I were talking and we're thinking you and my brother can handle the bill for this as a wedding gift, since you're not financially contributing to my wedding." I stared at her shocked for a moment and was like, "And you didn't think to bring this up to me beforehand?" She started going off about how we're so well off, so what's the big deal? And she's sure her brother wouldn't have an issue with it. I asked her why her fiance doesn't foot the bill, or my in-laws, and where in her right mind she thinks it's okay to spring this on me. She started going on about how we're the wealthiest in both her and her fiance's family, and that she didn't think I would act like this and would say yes. I told her, well, sorry, but I'm not your parents. Don't expect handouts from me. She called me selfish, and I called her an entitled brat, paid for my half of the bill, and left. Well, as expected, my sister-in-law and mother-in-law, and even some of the cousins and aunts on my husband's side, have been absolutely furious with me, and are expecting me to apologize for the comments. I told them over my dead body. Husband is 100% on my side, and we're debating on not going to the wedding. I was talking to my mom, and she thinks I took it too far with the comments, and should just apologize to keep the peace. Am I the jerk? Info, the bill was close to $1,000. Even if OP is Bill Gates, they shouldn't be expected to contribute to the sister-in-law's wedding. They have no responsibility over that. They don't have the responsibility over a bill for the entire bachelorette party that they were a guest to. They didn't even plan it. Like, I think maybe not attending might be the right thing. I know if I was in OP situation, I would be feeling so put off by the whole thing. This next story is, am I the jerk for canceling my mother-in-law's phone plan so she can't let my nephew use it? Am I the jerk here? Everyone around me says yes, but I feel super gaslighted by my husband's family right now. We're both late 20s, no kids. We added my mother-in-law to our cell plan a few years ago when we got married because she lives alone and didn't have a cell phone. My husband thinks it'll keep her safer to have one for emergencies. At the time we added her, for her phone and plan, it was around $20 extra per month. Plan costs have gone up, and she got a nicer phone, so now it's close to $50 per month. Pretty steep with the way the economy is, am I right? Anyway, my husband's brother has a young kid. He's 8. He's a nice kid, but not my responsibility. When I called my mother-in-law's cell phone a few days ago, my nephew answered. I asked him if he was at Grandma's house and if I could talk to her. He said no, he was at his house and Grandma had given him her cell phone to keep because his parents wouldn't get him one. My mother-in-law didn't tell me or my husband about this, and I got pretty angry. I'm already not thrilled about paying for her to have a cell phone. I'm definitely not happy about paying for my 8-year-old nephew to have it. I went to her house and told her if she wasn't going to use the phone, I was going to take it off our plan, and that I wanted the iPhone back from the nephew because my husband's screen is cracked and he can have hers. It'll save us a few $100 since we won't have to buy a new phone. Needless to say, she's mad now because it's her phone to do with as she pleases and she wants nephew to have it. I told her it's not her phone and we won't pay for it if he's using it. I told hubby I was canceling it, and then I did. I told him if she wants a phone again or wants nephew to have one, she can sign up for her own plan. He's mad that I did that, mother-in-law's mad, nephew and his parents are mad, but I did get the phone back since it's no longer working on our plan. So, am I the jerk? I don't think I am. We all have to make cuts where we can with this economy. I completely understand where OP's coming from because all along the only idea here was to provide OP's mother-in-law access to a cheapo phone just in case they needed to make a call. And very clearly it evolved way beyond that, even for mother-in-law herself. It's also hilarious that the parents of the 8-year-old are mad that you didn't pay for their phone. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling someone their autistic son should go to a group home? I, 25-year-old male, live in a triplex alongside my girlfriend, and our neighbors being my parents and my cousin's family. This arrangement was fine at first, however, recently it's become an issue for me. The issue lies itself with Jason, 18, who is my cousin's severely autistic son, and his need to be constantly looked after. This is because aside from the aforementioned disability, he has Prader-Willi syndrome. At first, I would only watch him for 1 to 2 hours at most while his mother ran errands or went to appointments. This, however, changed this past month when the visits kept longer and she began to force him on us unannounced. This led to both my girlfriend and I deciding to put an end to it. On one of my days off last week, I went to her place to have a word with her. When I showed up, she said she wanted to talk about something. This something was her asking if I could do overnight babysitting for Jason. I straight up told her no and said that I wasn't going to be watching over him anymore. I went on to say how her constantly expecting both myself and my mother to look after Jason is both unkind and unreasonable. I then told her if she plans on working nights, Jason should go to a group home. I also told her that if she finds a day job, Jason should go to a day program where he can be with other special needs people. This unfortunately didn't go well, and I got accused of everything from being selfish to being wussy whipped by my girlfriend. She went so far as to accuse me of wanting to remove her and Jason from the family. The aftermath of this was huge, as my cousin painted me as a huge jerk, which has led to angry messages from other family members and my parents. Am I the jerk? I don't think OP can be the jerk because obviously OP means well, and it's also unfair to OP for them to continue to try to pressure them to watch over him. This next story is, am I the jerk for wearing a wedding dress at a wedding? So my friend, 20-year-old female, and I, 19-year-old male, have been friends for a few years, and she recently got engaged. A week ago, I got a DM from her for a small costume party she was hosting as a celebration for her getting engaged. I asked if there was a theme, and she said there wasn't. I'm a cosplayer, so I had a lot of choices. I didn't want to rock up in an anime cosplay, so I thought it would be funny to go to an engagement party as the corpse bride. I arrived at her house yesterday and everything seemed normal. A few people complimented my costume and I was having a lot of fun. After 10 minutes, my friend's fiance walked out in a black tuxedo and announced this was actually their wedding. Apparently, my friend saw a video of someone doing this and wanted to do the same. He asked us all to go to the backyard for the ceremony to begin. I went straight to him. I asked him if I should quickly go home and change my outfit and that I would get back before it started. He told me it was fine since I didn't know this was the wedding. I trusted him and followed everyone outside. They got married and everything seemed good. The reception was just in their house again, so everyone just walked back inside and picked up where they left off. I tried talking to my friend and celebrating with her, but she kept making excuses to not talk to me. I assumed it was just because that she was tired from the big day and wanted some alone time. I didn't bother her after that, and the party soon ended. I got home and half an hour passed when my phone started getting notifications. I checked and it was my friend texting me. She was cussing me out and telling me how I ruined her wedding. I was really confused and asked what I did. That only made her more angry. She told me it was basic knowledge not to wear a wedding dress to a wedding. I reminded her I had no idea it was a wedding and that I asked her now husband if I should change and he said it was fine. She didn't respond, but I got a text from her husband. He asked why I would tell her he said it was fine. I told him he said it was fine. Then he said how I should have changed anyways and it's my fault that the two are now fighting over this. I've tried texting her that I was sorry and if I had known I wouldn't have done it. I woke up today and saw her and her husband have blocked me on everything. So, am I the jerk for not changing out of the wedding dress when I found out it was actually a wedding? This is honestly such an honest mistake. OP literally had no idea that this was a surprise wedding. I mean, who really does that? It's a cool thing to have all of these people show up in costume at a wedding, but God forbid, it should have been understandable. I love that the groom is trying to blame his words and his actions on OP too. Our next story is, am I the jerk for ruining my son's sister's first birthday? My ex's new wife called me 3 weeks ago and said that she'd just realized her daughter's birthday was on my week. She asked me to please bring my son to the party or drop him off the night before, and they'd bring him back the next morning. She was very entitled about it. She presented me with 2 options when I don't have to do either. I said I would think about it, and she got huffy and said he has to be at his little sister's party. I again said that I would think about it, and she continued to argue, so I hung up. The day before the party, I asked my son, "Do you want to go to Sister Name's birthday party?" He said he did, so I texted her to tell her that we would be there and asked her for the time of the party. She told me it was at noon. So we got there at 12:30 and there were no other cars, which was weird. When we went inside, my ex said he needed to talk to me, and I said that wasn't necessary and asked where the party guests were. He said he needed to prepare me before I saw his wife. I said, "Why? Is she pregnant or something?" He said she was, and I just rolled my eyes. I again asked where the party guests were. He said the party was at 2 o'clock, but they wanted to make sure I had time to put myself together before the party. I told him he needed to quit with the soap opera drama because I don't have time for it. I took time out of my day to accommodate them, but they blew it. I'm not hanging out with them in an empty house for over an hour, and I'm not wasting gas to leave and come back. I took my son to the park, and we had a nice day, but my ex texted me a bunch about how I was punishing his daughter for the pregnancy. I don't care that his wife is pregnant. My only response was a text that said, "Grow up." My son asked about his sister's birthday, and I said there was a mix-up with the party time, which is true, and they would all celebrate together when he was at his dad's. So he was chill. My mom said I hurt the birthday girl, but she's 1. She's not going to notice who is at her party. My mom told me to be the bigger person, but I feel there's a limit to that. I'm not going to reward lying and trickery in my ex any more than I would reward it if my 6-year-old did it. Am I the jerk for leaving and not coming back? I don't blame OP because they were already taking time out of their day that has no relevance to them directly, showed up, and there was very clearly this drama baiting, "We need to talk for an hour so you can put yourself together." Like as if OP is shattered and falling to pieces to find out their ex-wife is pregnant again. This next story is, am I the jerk for making my husband come to a doctor's appointment with me? I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow. It's for an HSG, which is not a serious procedure. It's basically just an MRI but with extra painful steps. I'm not sure how much pain there's going to be, but it's only supposed to last a couple of minutes. Thing is, I told my husband that I wouldn't be able to drive, which was a lie. My doctors told me that I should be able to drive. I just want him to be there because I'll feel more comfortable if he's nearby. And I have a tendency to pass out if I'm in pain. This week, he's completely swamped at work. He's been working from 6 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night every day. It's probably going to take him 3 or 4 hours to come home from work, pick me up, take me to the hospital, take me home, and then go back to work. I've made him go to 2 other doctor's appointments this week because fertility reasons and we both needed testing. Am I the jerk for lying and making him skip work? Definitely, you don't need to lie about it, just be honest. This is the kind of thing that seems insignificant or small enough to you, but that'll slowly start that fissure that leads to this being some bigger thing that's just all kinds of white lies all over the place. I say don't make a habit and don't get comfortable with doing little white lies to your husband, when really you should just express how you're feeling, how you'll feel so much comfortable if he's there. Am I the jerk for having a dry wedding and serving only water for drinks? Okay, so basically, my husband and I are getting married later this year. Each of our sides of the family are fairly big. It'll be around 100 to 150 people total. My husband and I are paying for all of this ourselves, as well as my grandma, who said she doesn't care one way or the other on this issue. She just loves weddings. We have a lot of kids in our family, so we decided against making it child-free, but we did decide to make it dry. So there will be no alcohol of any kind at our wedding. Honestly, this doesn't have anything to do with there being kids there, but due to the fact that my fiance and I don't drink. Nothing against people who do, it's just not for us and we don't want to. On top of that, we only really drink water. We rarely, if ever, drink soda. So most of the time it's only water with the occasional juice and milk. We don't even drink coffee. So obviously the food, which is a part my grandma's not paying for, is going to be expensive for that many people. We're having our wedding catered, so everyone will have a good choice of food to choose from, but to drink, only water will be provided. We don't want to have to pay for alcohol or soda. It's just a large added expense when we can just do filtered water for a much cheaper cost. Well, when family and friends found out, they got angry. Some didn't really care, but some are really upset about it, saying that I can just have an open bar so I don't have to pay for drinks. We could, but we still have to pay the bartender, and we really just don't want to bother with the alcohol there. Or we should at least have soda, because how can we expect everyone to drink only water? The kids will be upset, the wedding will be boring. This is not how weddings work, etc. So, am I the jerk? I didn't think this would be a problem. It's only water. I mean, don't most people drink water every day anyway? Should we pay extra to have soda to make the family happy? I know that if I went to this wedding, I'd prefer there to probably be some kind of soda option. I mean, I feel like it's a little bizarre just to have only water. I personally like to think that it's their wedding and they can really do what they want to do. But it does sound a little overly restrictive. Do you guys think it makes them the jerk for just having only water and nothing but water? I'd like to know what you guys think in the comments down below. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, am I the jerk for selling the house my brother and his family live in? A few years ago, my brother needed help. I let him move into one of my rental properties and we did it all legal, lease agreement and everything. Because I was renting to him at a break-even point, we agreed that he was responsible for all the maintenance of the house and yard. Well, he has 4 kids, and the hot water tank isn't enough for his family and he wants a new one. I told him to go ahead. He proceeded to take the cost of the hot water tank and installation out of that month's rent. I reminded him of our agreement. He said he wasn't making improvements to my property for free. I said that the old hot water tank was fine and he made the decision to replace it. Big argument and I didn't want to fight, so I said that he wasn't allowed to make any further changes to the house without my explicit agreement. So he stopped doing maintenance as a protest. The house itself is not pretty, but it's solid. It is old and the wiring in it wasn't meant for all the modern electronics we have. He wanted to add a new breaker box and run more outlets. I said no thanks. I can't afford that since I'm not making any money on the house. He started getting witchy about it and the rent started getting paid late. I tried talking to him, but he said that he had to buy some stuff for the house and he was low on cash. So I sold the house. While the house itself isn't great, it is in an older part of the city and the property itself is 1/4 of an acre. Every time a house sells in this neighborhood, it is snapped up by developers and turned into multi-family units, or one guy built a McMansion on his land. I know a lot of the developers and I didn't even need to list the house to have it sold in less than a week. My brother found out when he was served with an eviction notice. He called me to ask what the freak. So I told him that the house was causing me headaches and I had an opportunity to make some money, and I took it. He said I should have offered him a chance to buy it. I said that he was having trouble making rent. How was he going to qualify for a mortgage? He said that I'm a jerk and that he has the money, he was waiting to make me an offer. I asked him if he had money, why was he late on his rent? He started bad-mouthing me to all our family. A few of them took his side and tried to say that I was being a jerk, so I offered all of them a chance to clear his debt to me if they wanted to share their opinion. None of them took me up on the offer. My parents are on my side and they said I shouldn't have rented to him in the first place. I feel bad for my sister-in-law and the kids, but I'm not going to spend the rest of my life subsidizing his. I think this is just an ugly reality that can very well arise from doing something like allowing a family member to rent out a place you live in when you have to play the role of landlord. I don't blame OP for doing what they did, and honestly, it's impressive that they were capable of making those tough choices. Our next story is, am I the jerk for saying my son can make his own choices? My son is 18 and will graduate from high school in a few months. Lately, he's been fighting a lot with my wife and I. My wife isn't his biological mother, but she's been his mom since he was 3. A week ago, they got into a big fight, and my wife got frustrated and yelled at him that she wasn't his mother. Since then, he's been completely cold to her, and when he does have to address her, he does so by her first name. My wife confiscated the keys to his car last night, but I gave them back this morning because he didn't curse at her, just called her by her name. Besides, I don't want to drive all the kids to school and then pick them up. My wife's upset and said that I really need to support her and talk to him. I think it's pointless. He's 18. If he doesn't want to call her mom, we really can't make him. My wife says I'm being a lazy jerk that just doesn't want to have a conversation with him. Maybe I am a jerk, but I did talk to him. He said he's not going to call her mom again ever. Well, what am I supposed to do about it? Even if we find a way to force him to, he's going to school out of state, so what will we do then? Just seems like a pointless battle that will only create more animosity. But maybe that's just what a lazy jerk would say. I honestly think OP's pretty on the money here. They had a big fight. She said, "Well, I'm not your mother." Well, they're 18 years old. Being told that is probably kind of crushing. And yeah, I think they're well within their right as an 18-year-old and an adult, even if she was his biological mother, to just call her by her name. This next story is, am I the jerk for criticizing my roommate's grooming habits harshly? I, 26-year-old male, currently live in a rented apartment with my roommate, 24-year-old male. Recently, we've been running into some issues because of his grooming. I occasionally noticed a funk coming off of him, and a few times it got bad enough to ask him to take a shower because it was distracting me and grossing me out. He apologized and said he had a lessened sense of smell, which made him less likely to realize he needed a shower. Sounded kinda BS to me, but he showered, so I didn't think anything of it. Our apartment has 2 full bathrooms in the hallway, and I ordered a bidet for mine. The other day I was installing it and he happened upon me doing so. He asked what it was for and I explained. He chuckled and said, "You gay guys are something else." I laughed and said, "It's less invasive than toilet paper and more effective." And he laughed and said, "Yeah, but I don't use that either." Something clicked in my head and I asked him for clarification. Apparently he never wipes. He says he thinks it's gross to rub his butt with a piece of paper that doesn't really do anything. He said no straight guy does and it's not a big deal. I asked what he does if he eats Taco Bell or something, and he said he just takes a shower. I asked what if he's in a public bathroom. He said he waits till he gets home. I then asked if he washes his butt in the shower, and he said that the soap from his back drips down and takes care of it. At this point, I was basically gagging and told him he can't sit on any of the furniture I pay for, which is most of it, until he wipes and washes his crusty butt. He got mad and says the only reason I care is because I get screwed in mine, to which I responded that I'm a top. He got pissy and left after this, and I haven't seen him since. I called his girlfriend to ask if she's heard from him, and she said he came over, explained the situation, she got grossed out, and he left her place. I feel kind of bad for not viewing this as a he doesn't know the right way situation, rather than the more antagonistic turn it took. Am I the jerk? I legitimately fail to believe that this is real. Can you really get by without wiping? Like, doesn't that cause like some kind of like flare-up or something? There's no way this can be real, right? All I know is this dude's underpants are definitely caked in disgusting fecal matter. I mean, imagine using the washing machine after him. It's disgusting. Our next story is, am I the jerk not supporting girlfriend's sister? Some info. I've been with my girlfriend, 27-year-old female, for 5 years. She loves her sister a ton, which is a good thing, as I believe supporting and helping your siblings, as long as it doesn't ruin your own life. You'll understand why I say this later on. We just put down a mortgage on a house in the suburbs of a large city. I, 28-year-old male, work in tech as a software developer with a master's degree in computer science. I make quite a lot of money, so money issues never arose. Girlfriend doesn't work and does chores and cooking in the house. Both agreed on this. I was gonna propose to girlfriend next year, but a problem arose about 2 years ago. For the last 2 years, probably longer, girlfriend's been sending money to her younger sister, let's call her Emily. Emily got pregnant at 20 years old. Emily works as a waitress. Their father is bouncing from job to job. Emily says that he's very lazy. He'll disappear hours at a time without telling Emily where he's going or what he's doing. Emily has asked my girlfriend on several occasions for money. My girlfriend, being the nice and sweet person she is, says yes all the time. It started off as paying for diapers, no problem. Then baby clothes, which also no problem. Then daycare, which I just brushed off. I talked with girlfriend saying we can't always pay for everything and that helping out for a couple of things is okay, but not everything. Girlfriend reassured me and said that it would be stopping soon once they get their feet picked up, which is fine. One day I hire a financial planner. The next day I get an email saying my account has sent approximately $50,000 for the last 10 months and has around $20,000 sitting in my account. I talk with my girlfriend and she apologizes and says she knew that I wouldn't want to keep sending her sister money and how she just cares about her sister. We've been paying for everything. Insurance, rent, car payment, daycare, clothing for all three, dinners, dates, going out expenses. It is partly my fault because I never checked my bank account. Girlfriend shows me the text messages between her and Emily saying she needs the money. I then noticed a pattern where Emily would say, "Hey, can you send me money? I don't have money for so-and-so." And of course, girlfriend says yes. I brush it off and girlfriend says she won't send any more. The next day, girlfriend sends her $1,000 because they needed car repairs. I talk with girlfriend and we get into an argument where she says she'll always help her sister no matter what. I understand to an extent. We argue trying to understand each other's point of view. As stated before, we had $20,000 and now we're down to $19,000. And then how about the next time? And the next time after that, on top of our own expenses. Girlfriend then decided that she needs some time alone and that she'll be at her mother's for the time being. Now I'm all alone in the house. I thought I would live in with the girl of my dreams. Am I the jerk for arguing with my girlfriend for caring about her sister too much? 100% not the jerk. She's sending money hand over fist, even money that doesn't really seem to be really hers. I wish Opie the best of luck as she can't really see the issue here. Our next story is, am I the jerk for saying dishwashing is unskilled labor? I've been seeing this girl for 3 months who I'm pretty into. She's a professional chef, hot, and basically bad as heck. She smokes pot and drinks a lot more than me, but other than that, I have no complaints. She's very assertive because she has to be in her line of work, and luckily I'm into that, if you know what I mean. She works at an upscale bar, hence the drinking, where the food is really important, and she's super talented, so her dishes get written up in our local media, which is so cool. It feels a bit like dating a celebrity when we go out because she seems to know all the industry people and we get free drinks and stuff. The problem came up when she was complaining about her job, which she does a lot. She says her boss is unsupportive and won't hire more help for the kitchen. Right now, she does almost everything herself. So her hours are crazy long and she's stressed all the time. I agree it doesn't make sense to be so short-staffed because it seems like the bar's always busy and they make good money. The owner is an old-school boomer guy who thinks he's overreacting, or so she says. I don't like feeling helpless when she complains about work, so I offered to help wash dishes one night so she wouldn't have to work until 3 a.m. and we could go out. I made a lot of money in tech and retired early, so I have some time on my hands. She looked surprised and laughed and said, "Thank you for the offer." I was kind of hoping she would turn me down, but the way she said it was kind of patronizing, so I pressed a bit. She went into professional mode and asked if I'd ever washed dishes before. I said yes, obviously, but not in a restaurant or anything. Now she looked really annoyed and asked why I thought I could just jump in and wash dishes without any experience. I laughed at this and said anyone could wash dishes. Teenagers do it as their first job. She got offended and said I didn't understand the realities of kitchen work because it's not easy, and dishwashers are the most important person in the restaurant. I thought this was a huge exaggeration. I worked at Wendy's in high school and it's the same darn skill set. What she does is skilled, but washing dishes is not skilled labor. She said, "There's no such thing as unskilled labor. And I'd take you up on your offer if I thought you wouldn't mess up service." I thought that was really rude and misguided. No such thing as unskilled labor? Are you kidding me? And told her so. She told me I was condescending and presumptuous, and she gets enough of that from her boss. The date was awkward for a while until she smiled and changed the subject, but now I can't stop wondering if her boss doesn't have a point about her overreacting. Am I the jerk? I've done a little bit of work for a proper dishwashing station for a culinary setup, and let me just say, if the restaurant is going pretty busy, you've got to be quick on your feet with washing all of these dishes. You've got to be very quick in aligning them in the dish rack. Depending on the dishwasher, mine had this big industrial dishwasher that you actually put like a rack of plates and utensils through, and you kind of pull down a lever and it just runs for like 10-15 minutes. It's almost like a strategy game that you have to do in a very quick amount of time, where you fill up these racks as much as you can optimally in a way that doesn't break the dishwasher. And then let's not mention drying them off, putting them away if that's part of your job. And depending on the dishes, you might have to give special cleaning attention to some of them. It's not just walking on in, cleaning some stuff and leaving it out to dry for later. Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to spend my money on my stepdaughter's wedding? My wife passed away when my sons were 8 and 4 respectively. Since then, I remarried, and my new wife and I have been married for some 11 years now. She herself was married before and had a daughter of her own from her own past marriage. Her ex-husband's story is its own saga, but suffice to say, he's alive but isn't in their life anymore. When we married, my bio children were 13, son, and 9, son, and my stepdaughter was 12. For 11 years, I tried to make some bridges. I would get her gifts and try to make sure she always got what she wanted. I did everything I could to make her happy. I would drive her to school, be at her extracurriculars. I paid for the nicest private schools for her I could. Not to mention I worked day and night so I could give her the lifestyle she deserved. My wife is a housewife, a choice she made after she voluntarily quit her job in marketing. I tried my best and treated her just like my sons, but she continued to hate me. This came to a head specifically when my stepdaughter graduated about 5 years ago. While my eldest son had invited my wife, his stepmom, to his graduation, my stepdaughter refused to invite me. She had 2 tickets, but she only invited her mother. Her grandparents refused as they live in my wife's native country. When I asked why, she said, "You're not my dad, you didn't raise me, and I don't want you in my life." I was heartbroken. I tried very hard for her to like me, but she hated me. Still, I paid for her college. I paid for both of my sons' colleges as well. Nevertheless, a few months back, she informed my wife that she'll be getting married. I only found out when my wife told me. What was even more devastating is that she said she would come home to celebrate, and I brought a cake and balloons and so much more. Then last minute, she changed plans. She just told my wife that she should come over to her apartment without my sons and I. I was shattered. When I did eventually call to congratulate her, she just tried to end the conversation as quickly as she could. The last thing I had asked was maybe the honor to have a father-daughter dance with her, which she had shot down. I said nothing, but then came the bill, and my wife said she needed some money for her wedding. I considered it long and hard, but clearly, as she didn't consider me as her father, I said I would not be paying for her wedding. I told my wife that she had money saved up. It was her choice to use that if she wanted, but I would not be paying for her wedding. She was furious at me. She said she barely had any money saved up and I was being an awful person. I've received calls from all of my wife's family telling me that I should pay, mainly her immediate family, like my father-in-law and my brother-in-law. The whole thing has become a mess. It's divided our family, but I'm still holding my ground. Am I the jerk? Clearly, she is incredibly ungrateful for you or anything you've done or tried to do. I would say OP's honestly held on and given way more than they ever needed to, considering the treatment. And yeah, I don't blame OP for putting this boundary up for sure. Our next story is, am I the jerk for calling my sister stupid and her husband crappy parents from the start because of what they want to name their kid? Okay, so just a little context because this topic is incredibly touchy for me. I'm a man who was given a woman's name at birth. A good example is naming your son Alice. It's not what my name was, but it's close. My parents are hippies and gave their oldest son a girl's name to stick it to the man. And I will never forgive them for it. That name caused me to be bullied and damaged my professional life in ways I cannot describe. My sister's pregnant with her first child, a girl. She and her husband are ecstatic. It just sucks that she inherited my parents' stupid propensity to see their children as fashion statements. Last night, she revealed to the family the name of her daughter. It's Crystal, spelt Krxstxl. She wants to name her daughter Kirkstxl. Confused, the name is pronounced Crystal. I already don't like that name, but it's at least appropriate. I wasn't surprised to learn that my mom helped come up with the name. When she told me, I told her it was a terrible idea. If she wants to name her Crystal, name her Crystal. She tried to explain to me why the X's are there, and I just told her that it doesn't matter. She's naming a human, not a dog. I don't care what kind of fashion statement she's trying to make. This is a person who will have to live with that name until they die or has it changed. She and my mom brushed me off as just complaining because I was never able to accept my name. I told my sister she was either being selfish, stupid, or an incredibly strong combination of the two if she thinks their daughter will want a stupid name like Kirkstxl. We got into an argument, and I told her I already see her and her husband as crappy parents for using their kid to be off-brand with her name and left right after. My sister's not taking it well at all, and my mom is furious with me. I'm starting to wonder if I was too harsh. I won't change my opinion on that incredibly stupid name, but I'm wondering if branding her as a crappy parent was too far. Some people really value naming their kids very unique or standout names. Personally, I do like to subscribe to the this is gonna be their life outlook and wanting to give them a fairly normal-ish name that probably isn't going to get them bullied too much. Or maybe hurt their job prospects if you see a name like Kirkstxl on a resume. At the very least, spare your kid from the accumulative hours of teachers having to go through roll call and stutter over that name every single time. They might say that it's Crystal, but everybody else that ever sees that name on paper are not going to go, oh, Crystal. Kirkstxl. Our next story is, am I the jerk for putting childproof locks on the stove to stop my adult sister from using it? I, female 19, live with my stepsister Nicole, female 20. We live together in a small 2-bedroom apartment whilst we both attend the same college. Our hometown is a small rural area that's around a 3-hour drive away. My dad married Nicole's mother around 11 years ago. Nicole and I know each other pretty well and have spent a lot of time together. We haven't always gotten along. which siblings have, but we do consider each other sisters. Anyway, on to the story. So, me and Nicole both got sick of dorms and moved in together around 2 months ago. Back at home, Nicole never cooked for herself, not beyond microwave meals anyway. And now that we're both supposed to be living independently, she started cooking. Nicole keeps forgetting to turn off the stove or oven when she's finished with them. At one point, this nearly caused a full-blown house fire when she forgot about the stove, whilst a paper plate of hers had been left on top of it. I kept gently reminding Nicole to turn off the oven/stove when she's done with them, but she just doesn't seem to listen. I even tried putting a sticky note around the kitchen to try to remind her. Eventually, Nicole got irritated with the reminders and told me I'm treating her like a child. I said I'm sorry if it came off that way, but she needs to remember. The problem has just kept persisting, and a near miss with a house fire happened again when Nicole forgot about the stove, and she didn't hear the smoke detector because she was blasting music on her AirPods. Luckily, I noticed it and was able to put it out. I tried to have a talk with Nicole and told her this needs to stop. Nicole just got mad before I could even suggest anything and told me to get off her case. She said I'm overreacting and that she can handle it. She refused to listen to anything I had to say and kept talking over me. This has started to make me really anxious, especially when Nicole is home whilst I'm out. I bought some plastic child locks for the knobs that control the stove and the oven, and I placed them on there. I know Nicole can't open childproof stuff. This way, she can't use the stove or oven when I'm out of the home. When I'm home, I can make sure nothing bad happens. Me and Nicole have similar class schedules, so this shouldn't inconvenience her too much. Nicole went ape poop when she noticed them and started screaming at me and told me I'm a control freak and bullying her. I yelled back at her and told her I wouldn't be doing it if she could act like a responsible adult. Nicole called me a witch and said I have no business controlling when she gets to cook. She's now gone to a friend's place and has blocked my phone number. My dad and stepmother got concerned after getting texts off Nicole, and they kept messaging me about it, telling me I need to get Nicole to come back. Am I the jerk? I think OP's honestly doing their best to try to save Nicole's life. I'm gonna be honest, I don't cook too often on the stove, and most things I've learned to cook on the stove I've just kind of picked up myself. And even then, I still remember to always turn the stove back off. I mean, it's like going to the bathroom and just leaving the light on in there after you're done. Or getting done with a shower and just still leaving the faucet on and going about your day. Like, how do you forget? Our next story is, am I the jerk for ordering food when my children are asleep so I don't have to share? Occasionally, when my 4 children go to bed, I'll order myself a little something from Uber Eats or DoorDash after a hard day so I don't have to share with the kiddos. Usually, since I'm always the first one to wake up, I'll put the packing beside the indoor trash can and take it out to the outdoor trash can in the morning. My children ended up waking up first that morning and seen the takeout food packaging and ended up waking me up, asking me what I ate and if they could have some. I told them there was none left and I ate it all last night, and I thought that would be the end of it. But after I dropped them off at their dad's for the week, my children stay at their dad's house 1 week out of the month rather than just doing weekends. My children's father ended up spamming my phone with text messages accusing me of misappropriating my children funds he sends every month. My CF, children's father, gives me $100 for each child a month, which is $400 a month, which when it comes to it, it isn't much, but I'm fine with it because he usually makes up with it by buying the children what they need when an issue arises. For your information, nothing is court-ordered. I have a job as a daycare worker and use my own money I make myself to buy Uber Eats or DoorDash food. He also accused me of being a bad mother because I rather order food for just myself without thinking of my children, who were with me at the time, and that I should have just waited until they were with him for the night. I had a really bad day that day and just wanted to do something to cheer myself up, and sometimes food does the trick for me. If I were to order something for everyone, it would have cost a whole lot of money that I wasn't interested in spending, and if I were to share by the time my food got back to me, it would have just been the food wrapper. So, do y'all think I'm the jerk? I don't think OP's the jerk because, let's be real, I think we've pretty much all had those days where we've had a long day And after that long day, all you really want is some kind of guilty pleasure from some food place. This isn't like OP withholding dinner from the kids, like the kids are still getting fed. In fact, as a parent, it probably would not be a good thing to indulge the kids in this because, God forbid, they probably don't need that extra food. I mean, how often do you hear the stories of parents who have a secret chocolate stash somewhere? Because the kids are gonna get to it otherwise, right? It's not too far off from just that kind of thing. Am I the jerk for buying lower grade steaks when my in-laws visit and serving my mom and dad Wagyu? My wife and I live far away from both of our sets of parents. We visit them a couple times a year and they visit us about the same. My mom and dad love food. They'll buy pounds of garlic and leave it in a rice maker for a month to make black garlic. They plan their vacations around amazing restaurants. My in-laws are lovely people, but boiling chicken drumsticks is fancy for them. And they refuse to eat steak that isn't well done. I discovered this the first time I went to their home for dinner. I wasn't even asked how I like my steak. Everyone got a well-done steak. It took me years to convince my wife to try a medium rare steak. Now she loves them. I bought some beautiful prime steak for them when they came over when we moved in together. I made theirs medium well and I died a little inside. Her dad took it back to the grill and destroyed them. So now I buy select grade meat. I've been buying some excellent quality Wagyu for when my parents visit. Not every single time, maybe once a year. My wife says I'm being a jerk by not treating both families the same. I don't think I should waste money on great food for them when I know how they'll treat it. Some people might say that intentionally buying cheaper stuff is kind of still jerk territory, but as somebody that does enjoy a medium rare steak and thinks that cooking it well done is definitely massacring the meat, I don't think I can personally blame OP at all. Do you guys disagree? Is well done the way to go? I'd like to know what you guys think. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit that subscribe button down below? Our next story is, am I the jerk for calling my girlfriend prissy over a small issue? I, 25-year-old male, recently took my girlfriend, 26-year-old female, out to eat and meet with my family. We went to a casual restaurant where my girlfriend could meet my family for the first time in a low-stress environment. Now, one thing you should know about my family is that me and my brother, 14-year-old male, are very close. I taught him how to ride a bike, I helped him with his homework, I taught him his letters. If it came down to it, I would take his side over my girlfriend's in a heartbeat. My girlfriend ordered a burger and some fries and a milkshake. Now, my brother and I usually do this thing where we jokingly steal each other's food. It's a sign of bonding. So, my brother stole a couple of my girlfriend's fries and dipped it in the milkshake. She was turned around talking to my mom and then saw him pop the fries in his mouth. As I saw him do that, I was going to gently admonish him, but to my surprise, my girlfriend puts her finger in his face and starts harshly scolding him about how what he did was incredibly rude and disrespectful, how he ruined her food, and how she doesn't want some kid to steal her food. At this point, I was seeing red. I told her to knock it off, that we do it all the time to each other, and to stop being so prissy like it's just food. When we got home, we had a pretty big fight. And as of this morning, my girlfriend's staying over at her best friend's place and left me all alone in our apartment. I'm not really sure what just happened, but her best friend called me to tell me I was a big jerk in the situation, and I'm starting to feel kinda bad. Regardless of whatever back and forth banter you personally have with your own siblings, this is definitely not a behavior that other people should be expected to tolerate or adopt. Maybe sticking her finger in his face and doing all that is a little far, but I definitely think she was well within her rights to have that boundary put up. Our next story is, am I the jerk for leaving a wedding to eat at McDonald's? Hi, I'm female, 25. Recently, my colleague, female, 31, invited me to her wedding, which happened yesterday. I was super excited and happy for her. Just in case, I asked her if there were any guest fees. She said, no, you don't need to pay me anything. On the day itself, everything went well until the reception, dinner time. To my shock, I was presented with a wedding menu that had prices on it. For example, steak, $50. Everything was ridiculously expensive, including the vegetarian options. At first, I wanted to question her because, well, she lied to me that I didn't have to pay for anything. But it was her wedding, and I didn't want to spoil her day by embarrassing her in front of everyone. However, the only other option was to simply not eat, as I didn't bring enough money for both a meal and a ride back. But this was completely unfavorable, as I'd skipped my lunch to save space for the wedding meal and was pretty hungry. Suddenly, I remembered that I saw a McDonald's about 5 minutes away from the hotel. As tactfully as I could, I asked the bride if I could make a quick stop to McDonald's, as I didn't bring enough money for the reception meal. I said that I'd be back in time for the gift ceremony and cake. I thought she would agree, but to my horror, she got really upset. She said that she put in so much effort to get this Michelin star restaurant service, yet I still wasn't happy. That I was trying to bring her down by saying that I'd rather eat McDonald's. Alarmed, I said that I didn't mean it that way, I just didn't have the cash for it. She then scoffed, saying, "Whose fault is that?" Although I was trying to keep in my anger, those words really pissed me off. So I told her, "You were the one who lied that I didn't need to pay anything." Getting angry as well, she replied, "What I meant was there is no attendance fee. You literally assumed that you'd get a free 5-course dinner. Wow, you're cheaper than I thought." With a glare, she asked me to leave her wedding. I did, struck dumb and rather hurt. And on my way home, I grabbed a Big Mac. Back at home, I told my boyfriend everything and asked if I was a jerk. He thought it was a funny story, but said I was a jerk. If I didn't have the money, I could always pay her back later. In his exact words, he said, "You chose the wrong time to be stingy." My other friends agree as well, saying that it wasn't tactful for me to be doing that at the wedding, and although she lied, I should have brushed it off instead of dampening her happy spirits. After hearing their opinions, I felt quite guilty and embarrassed. However, the one little part of me still thinks that it's justified because 1, she lied to me, and 2, publicly humiliated me. Please help me out. Am I the jerk? OP clearly asked her if there were any guest fees, not an attendance fee. I think if you have to pay for anything at this wedding, you should be made known of it in advance. I mean, what if somebody doesn't bring any form of payment with them? Are those people just screwed? Do they gotta mooch off somebody else? Did the bride plan for that? This next story is, am I the jerk for shutting off the home Wi-Fi so that my wife would stop working? I, 35, have been married to my wife Jen, 30, for 3 years. And before that, we dated for 6 years. She's also 32 weeks, 8 months, pregnant with twins. She's my best friend and I absolutely adore her with one minor flaw. She is a huge workaholic/perfectionist. While we both have very well-paying jobs, Jen's job is way more stressful and time-demanding. Even though she's brilliant and amazing at what she does, she often works around the clock, on average 60-hour weeks, at home and in office. This wasn't a problem before, but about 2 weeks ago, her doctor told her to take a step back from work, i.e. go on leave early because the stress was starting to cause her a couple of health issues, even though the babies are fine. However, her being the workaholic that she is, she's still been working from her laptop 6 to 8 hours every day. Which, fine, I understand that she had a couple of cases that she needed to finish. But most days, she was so focused on work that she was forgetting to eat meals and falling asleep at her desk. So yesterday when I got home, I realized that she had done the same thing again. I woke her up and told her that she needed to go rest in bed. She insisted that she was fine and said there was an emergency with a client of hers, and she just needed to finalize some things for a coworker. I asked her just to take a break first and take a nap or eat, but she said that she would once she was done and that it wouldn't take her more than an hour. I told her fine, but no longer than an hour, even though I was pretty annoyed. So 2 hours later, when she was still working, I became frustrated and unplugged the Wi-Fi and put the cable out of sight. The only purpose of this was to cut her off from work on her laptop, because she clearly had no intention of stopping. Once she realized, she yelled at me, called me a jerk, and she said that I was treating her like a child and accused me of being controlling, condescending, and borderline abusive. I told her that she's being stupid and just to let the coworker that asked for her help to handle it. I said that she was free to use the mobile hotspot on her phone or figure out the router herself, but otherwise I would plug it back in when I woke up, which I did. She was so mad that she slept in the guest room, and when I went to apologize the next morning for calling her stupid, not for cutting the internet, she said that she can't even look at me. She hasn't said another word to me yet. I'm starting to feel like I might have been a bit extreme, even if I only did it out of concern, but honestly overdoing it by trying to meet deadlines that she's not even supposed to be responsible for. Am I the jerk? I kind of think OP is, because like all the terms and ways that OP is labeling them is actually the way OP's treating them themselves. This next story is, am I the jerk for not giving my bus seat to a pregnant woman? I, female, was coming back home from college using the public transportation as I often do. I live in Argentina. In my stop, there were plenty of seats available. I pick one in the back of the bus near the door. A few stops after, a pregnant woman got on. She ignored the first seats, which are the priority seats, and came up to me and asked if I could give her the seat. At the time, the bus was crowded enough to not have any seats available. I told her no because I was tired and wanted to sit down. She mumbled that I was a jerk and said she's 8 months pregnant. I told her that I don't care for that and that the priority seats are in the front of the bus. Somebody else gave her a seat in the background, but still made me kind of feel like a jerk. I think I'm entitled to the seat if I got in before, but I also don't know if the people in the priority seats were people who really needed it, so that woman couldn't have asked them to give it to her. I mean, if they got on at the front of the bus, I think it's more disappointing than anything that an 8-month pregnant woman managed to even make it to the back of the bus trying to look for a seat first. Needless to say, it sucks, but it would have been nice for OP to give up that seat. Our next story is, am I the jerk for not giving my boss my first class seat? Yesterday, my boss and I were flying home from a conference. We were on the same flight, but our original seats weren't next to each other. I'm a frequent traveler on this airline and use their credit card, so I often get free upgrades to first class. I got upgraded on this flight and my boss did not. After the flight, when we were collecting our bags, she said she wanted to talk to me about my lack of respect for protocol. She thinks that because the company paid for my original ticket and she's more senior than me, I should have given her the first class seat. I think this is absolutely insane. While the company paid for my seat, it's my own personal credit card spending and frequent travel that earned me the upgraded seat. Is this some sort of corporate standard I'm not aware of? Am I the jerk? Definitely not the jerk, and I wouldn't stand for it. They're clearly trying to bully you into, if anything like this comes up in the future, giving up your earned rewards to them for just being your boss. This next story is, am I the jerk for announcing to my sexist stepfather that I'll not be sharing my college funds with my stepbrother? I, 18-year-old female, found out a couple of months ago that I got into my dream school early decision that happens to be an Ivy League. I was overjoyed, and my parents were happy for me too. We're not too well off, but my grandma saved up money for her only granddaughters, me, college fund, which is more than enough to fund my tuition. Now, I have a stepbrother, Damon, 19-year-old male. He took a gap year, not really, and he's going to college too, but he's going to a college less costlier than mine. Honestly, he's only going to attend college because of his dad's incessant nagging. So recently my parents, moreover my stepdad, is bugging me about sharing my college funds with Damon. I don't want to, or else I'll have debt after graduation, and it'll shatter all my financial planning after college. Last night at dinner was my breaking point when stepdad asked again. I said no, then he said to my mom, well, anyways, OP's a girl. Why waste that much money on her college? I completely lost it. I yelled out, you know what? I've had enough. First of all, it isn't even your money to decide what the freak to do with it. It's the money my grandma left for my college tuition. Besides, my gender doesn't define my intelligence. I got into college name, didn't I? Then Damon said I needed to accept that he's smarter with a grin. Now here's where I may have been the jerk. I said, at least I have plans and ambitions unlike Damon, who told everyone he took a gap year when he actually failed. True. Stepdad and Damon stormed off, and my mom called me the jerk. So Reddit, am I the jerk? The Damon comment might have been a little out of pocket, might have been unnecessary, but I think the overall general sentiment is very true. And personally, I wouldn't be able to call OP the jerk, don't you guys agree? This next story is, am I the jerk for not telling my friends about a heart condition I have? To start with a bit of background, I regularly attend the gym with a few of my friends. We go about 3 to 4 times a week together. I also have a heart condition, and I'm advised not to take any stimulants like caffeine. I don't really like telling people I have a condition and this is what caused the problem. A week ago, I was feeling slightly sick, so I told my friends I was staying home and doing a small workout there. About an hour after I told them, I heard a ring at my door, and 3 of my friends were there saying they were going to encourage me to go to the gym. I told them I appreciate it, but I won't be coming. I invited them inside anyway, and we were just chilling out for a bit. One of my friends said he would make us all some protein shakes before they leave to go to the gym. He asked if I wanted one, and I agreed. A few minutes after drinking mine, I started to feel shaky. I wasn't sure what was going on. I told my friends my chest was feeling weird and they started to panic too. 25 minutes went by and I wasn't feeling any better. I was panicking now and my chest was feeling tight. Another one of my friends called an ambulance for me. When I arrived at the hospital, they asked me if I'd taken any substances including caffeine. I told them no when my friend piped up and said yes I had. I was confused, so I asked him, and he told me that he put some pre-workout in my protein shake to try and lift me up a bit and make me come to the gym with them. I was angry and I felt betrayed that he would do this behind my back without telling me. I told him I have a heart problem. At this point, my other friends start to defend him and say that I should have told him, that there was no way for them to know I shouldn't take pre-workout. I had no serious problems from taking it, and the doctor said I was all okay. I was still angry at my friend and the other friends for defending him. I said it wasn't cool he did it without telling me. My other friends continued to defend him, saying he couldn't have known not to. I've received a few comments that were hurtful, calling me a baby for crying about it, etc. I feel like I'm going crazy. Is it my fault for not telling them beforehand? Did I overreact? In a way, I can kind of see both sides because, you just kind of assume that there's not going to be any issues, but you know what they say about assuming. It's actually very fitting here. In the end, they only asked OP if they wanted a protein shake, not pre-workout. So slipping anything into somebody's food or drink without them knowing, especially in such a shady way as far as saying, I just wanted to lift you up a bit and make you come to the gym with us. That definitely makes them the jerk. Our next story is, am I the jerk for denying my terminally ill mother-in-law after she disavowed my daughter? I'm a married Indian Muslim woman. My darling husband and I are both immigrants. He is Pakistani Muslim. We've been in this country for over 20 years. I'm unable to have children, but we adopted our darling daughter when she was almost 2. She was my darling husband's goddaughter. Her bio parents passed away unexpectedly. When we initially adopted our darling daughter, we faced backlash from my husband's family. My mother-in-law hated the idea of us taking in a stranger's child, even though we were very close with her parents. We were told multiple times that she wouldn't be welcomed or accepted by that side of the family because of her background and who her parents were. They were Cuban/white Catholics. This wasn't the first time my mother-in-law had given us grief. She didn't approve of our marriage because I came from a poorer family and therefore below her son. We obliged my mother-in-law and permanently distanced ourselves from anyone who criticized our decision. Our daughter's skin color and origin has no bearing on our love for her. After cutting off my mother-in-law and most of my husband's family, we struggled without their support. We had almost no contact with them except for my mother-in-law's passive-aggressive voicemails and letters, all of which completely pretended we didn't have a child. One of them informed us of her cancer and asked my husband to come see her. He called her back and said no, he would only be coming when his family was invited. Our daughter has grown to be an intelligent, well-rounded, and compassionate young woman. We could not be more proud. She struggles with OCD and anxiety, but has overcome many obstacles which previously seemed insurmountable. She's 18 and more independent. She lives with us, but attends nursing school and is working to save up for a car. The rejection from my husband's family still hurts her to think about. We've just been told that my mother-in-law doesn't have much time left. She's extended an invitation to make up and mend bridges. She even invited our daughter. My husband and I declined and are being told we're terrible people for letting an old woman die without the chance to see her son and grandchild. I responded that she never recognized our daughter as her grandchild and that this is her own doing. Our daughter has expressed that she has no interest in meeting or seeing my mother-in-law. My husband shares that same sentiment and believes this is just a way for his mother to see him one last time. My mother-in-law somehow found our daughter's Facebook and left a post on her wall. calling her a whole slew of names and saying that she was the reason the family split up. I responded by saying that no one cared if she passed from her cancer, and that the day she did would be a blessing for all that knew her. I do feel some regret, but I draw the line at hurting my daughter. My husband spoken to his mother privately and also expressed his disgust by her actions and said she'd only ever been a mother to him when it benefits him. Am I the jerk for denying her requests and defending my family? Definitely not the jerk. I mean, it's a little harsh for what OP said, but honestly, she started it by going to that Facebook and leaving these horrendous comments on her way out. Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to include my family on a trip? When I was 15 or 16, my sister was invited to a medical study for a disability she has. As a part of this study, her and my parents traveled to DC 3 times over the course of a year. The first time I couldn't go with because my parents couldn't afford to buy me a ticket on top of what the study was funding. They found out when they were there that they would have totally funded my ticket. So when the second trip was lining up with the week of my 16th birthday, I was super excited because I thought I could finally see DC. I wasn't able to afford my school's 8th grade trip, so the idea of a sweet 16 in DC was the best thing in the world to me, especially as a kid who was really interested in politics. My parents didn't allow me to go on this trip because the week we would have been there would have conflicted with my first day of school. I have an early September birthday. I was completely devastated because not only were my DC dreams crushed, but I was also going to be alone for my 16th birthday. My best friend's parents ended up letting me stay with them for the week so that we could do something special for my birthday. I don't even remember why I couldn't go on the third trip, probably something to do with school as well. They had a lot of time to sightsee and have fun, and it was a bummer to miss out on that with my family. I'm now 30 and I'm about to see DC for the first time as I'm interviewing for a job. It's the ideal job because it's half remote and half on site, and I'd be able to split my time between DC and New York City. My interview's on Tuesday, but I'm flying in tomorrow to have some extra days to really see everything I want to see, and also just to give myself time to relax before a high-stakes interview. I'm funding this extra trip with some inheritance money I received late last year. When my parents found out about the trip, they asked if I could use some of that inheritance to fly them out so we could finally do a family trip together. They said they could show me some of the places they know and what became their favorite parts of DC on their trips. While I do have enough money to cover it, I don't particularly want to. I want this to be my own special trip where I'm doing what I want to do and seeing what I want to see. I also want the time that weekend to relax and not have to go on a tour of all the places my family went to without me. I understand it's petty and that it's been a long time since all of that, but it still sort of hurts to think about, even though it's not a huge deal in the grand scheme of things. I told them no, and they're making it out to seem like I'm rejecting them and acting in revenge for the past trips, which is actually not true. It has way more to do with the stress of the interview and wanting to protect my peace than it does for any idea of revenge. I feel fine in my decision, but my family called me a spiteful jerk, so I'm asking here as a reality check for myself. I mean, although OP's trying to label this as maybe even being petty, I don't think it's even petty because you don't have to spend your money. Like, it would be nice probably for everybody to hang out, but like, if OP wants to have a solo vacation and also save their money, they have every right to do that and they shouldn't be shamed or feel bad for it. Our next story is, am I the jerk for accidentally cursing in front of my pastor brother-in-law? My 27-year-old female, husband 32-year-old male, and I had his older brother, his wife, and his 5 kids over for dinner this weekend. Crap hit the fan and I wanted some outside opinions about this. So my brother-in-law is a pastor at a pretty popular church in our city. Now, both myself and my husband are not very religious people by any means. We both work in the medical field. He's a cardiologist and I'm a nurse, so we've always had more scientific views on things. His side of the family is very religious though, so we always keep our views to ourselves to be respectful and go along with their religious things they do, I guess. For example, praying before eating. Now, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, one thing that they don't condone is cursing, which I'm aware of and respect when they're around. My husband and I recently bought a new house, and my brother-in-law and sister-in-law have been bugging us to see it. We're pretty low contact with them as they're pretty over the top with their religious views and shame us for not having the same views. But we thought, why not, so we can see our nieces and nephews. This past weekend, both my husband and I had off work, so we planned a dinner with them and their kids. Everyone's at the table. Sister-in-law, my husband and I are in the kitchen bringing the food over. I'm pulling one of the dishes I made out of the oven. I accidentally lose my grip and my hand hits the burning hot pan. My first reaction is yelling, "Ouch!" You know the rest. My sister-in-law gasps. Husband comes running over asking if I'm okay and that I should have let him take that out. I grab some ice and head over to the table. Brother-in-law, who's sitting at the head of the table, is sitting there silently kind of shaking his head. Not even a, "You alright?" or anything. First thing he says to me is, "That cursing was very offensive to my family, and I know you know we don't condone that. Are you going to apologize to me?" I'm kind of sitting there in shock for a moment when my husband comes to my defense and starts explaining to brother-in-law it wasn't intentional, it was an in-the-moment reaction. He starts going off about how that's unacceptable, and a person of his rank doesn't condone or want to be in the presence of vile words like that. So I say back to him, "I'm sorry, brother-in-law. Maybe if you weren't acting so holier than thou and got up and helped us in the kitchen, I wouldn't have cursed. And my hand's fine, by the way, thanks for asking." They left shortly after dinner, and ever since then, my husband's side of the family has been bombarding us with texts about how we embarrassed brother-in-law and sister-in-law, sending us quotes from the Bible, articles about why cursing is unholy, etc., etc. Husband and I have honestly been getting a good laugh out of this, and think that everyone's overreacting. I kind of feel bad though for my nieces and nephews, and feel like maybe I should have bitten my tongue, but I don't know. Am I the jerk? Definitely not the jerk, and let's be real, like even if they despise it, I'm sure that in moments like that, they may very well let a word like that slip out too. Our next story is, am I the jerk for not wanting to drive a disabled coworker home? Throwaway, because I know some of my coworkers are Redditors. I'm not quite sure if I'm the jerk here, but I'm thinking I may be. I, 21-year-old female, am currently working at a small retail store. In the middle of January, my manager, 35-year-old female, took on a volunteer, Frank, 46-year-old male, who has to work as part of a program to help him with navigating the workforce with his disabilities. According to my manager, he's autistic and needs a higher amount of support than some other people with that disability, such as myself. Frank's mother drives him to and from the store, and he volunteers for an hour to an hour and a half a day, 2 to 4 days a week. We rarely interact as he's always out front, and I'm always in the back. Last week, he finished his program and my boss hired him Monday. The issue occurred the same day with his mother being unable to come get him. She wouldn't be able to come back to the store until around 30 minutes or so after we closed. Frank's younger brother was home, but without a car, and their house wasn't close enough for someone to walk with Frank and then back to the store. My manager had Frank sit in the office until closing, and I assumed that other arrangements had been made, but after we clocked out, she asked who would be willing to drive Frank home. My coworkers suddenly kicked off a game of not it, and I was left standing there confused with everyone looking at me. I'm never quick enough to pick up on when or if we're doing not it. Though I didn't find this to be an appropriate situation for that anyway, I managed to lie on the spot, saying I had prior obligations and that I wouldn't have enough time to drive in the opposite direction to take Frank home. I was honestly just not comfortable with being held responsible for getting someone else home, and not comfortable with having someone who is practically a stranger in my car. I have trouble looking after myself, and I'm not at all well equipped to look after others whose needs are higher than my own. I ended up telling a trusted coworker the truth Tuesday, and apparently he told my manager, who sat me down yesterday morning, and said she was very disappointed in me for not wanting to help Frank, and that's not what we're about here. She says she expects me to step up the next time there's an issue, and that there could be consequences if she catches me in a lie like this again. I tried to explain to her why I wasn't comfortable taking him home, but she told me that it's no excuse for, in her words, abandoning and discriminating against a coworker in need. I genuinely don't know if I'm the jerk, but I feel upset. So I think OP is very clearly not the jerk, and I don't understand what consequences they could have for refusing to drive a coworker home regardless of circumstance. It's not OP's responsibility, and in no way should they be forced to feel so. You can't enforce or discipline somebody for not driving another person home. I mean, do you guys agree with me that everybody here seems so, crazy to be in agreement that this is just how it is? Am I the jerk for acting crazy and spouting conspiracy theories to get my sister to stop including me in her videos? My male 19 sister, 21-year-old female, is a social media chef on TikTok and YouTube. I still live with my parents while going to college, while sis lives with some friends about a 10-minute drive away. Even though she doesn't live here, she comes over 2 to 3 times a week to film for hours in my parents' kitchen. She'll make lunch and dinner for my parents and me, but she insists that she includes us in her videos. I'm not comfortable with this for a variety of reasons. One of these being that her fans have made comments about me that I find highly inappropriate and I don't like. I've asked my sister multiple times to please edit me out of her videos or not film me at all. She's told me multiple times she would stop, but still includes me in her videos and goes out of her way to still try and film me. My parents have also told her to stop, but they don't see any harm in what she's doing, so they've taken a passive role in this. A few months ago, a graphic designer friend of mine offered to make me some not safe for YouTube shirt designs for me to order from her, and I did. It gave me the idea to start acting a bit unhinged and inappropriate for the platform she's trying to make. Nothing of this is inappropriate, mind you. I'm not trying to offend. Most of what I'm doing is conspiracy theory crap posting. My parents even find it entertaining, and my father's joined in as well, as he's also a bit tired of being filmed. Apparently earlier this week, I got my sister's account suspended. One of the shirts I got made had a picture of Ted Kaczynski with the word hero under it, and when she was streaming Monday, she turned the camera on me to ask me a question. I told her to stop, and she continued. While wearing the shirt, I said, "Pay attention, people. COVID was created to hide the truth of 9/11. My sister got mad and shooed me away despite coming to me and trying to film me, and just continued to be annoying in the kitchen. Last night, she called my parents up mad because her streaming account got suspended because of me. She also got multiple videos of me wearing that same shirt flagged, putting her YouTube account in jeopardy, and preventing her from uploading to it for 14 days. My parents just told her, "We told you so," but I got into an argument with her on the phone. I fully believe she's in the wrong for filming me, but I learned that this might completely destroy what she's been building for 2 years now. Despite the filming me issue, I actually am now wondering if ruining her chance at this being her career makes me a giant jerk. I don't think the basic intent here is gonna make OP the jerk at all. I do worry for them though, because doing that in a way where it physically puts them in the scene as saying all of this stuff isn't necessarily good for them either in the long run, because God forbid this stays on the internet somehow, and your identity, your face is attached to somebody saying these crazy conspiracy theories. If an employer ever saw something like that, not only might you ruin your sister's chances of building stuff, you might ruin your own chances of being hireable. Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to clean up after my girlfriend even though she was upset? I've been with my girlfriend for 2 years, and she's always had irregular periods. She has some sort of hormonal imbalance, meaning her periods are apparently more difficult. She'd been complaining her period was late by a little over a month. Editing to add, because I don't want this to be biased, we've been together 2 years. During that time, she's occasionally had periods that last 2 months, or had a period twice a month, etc. She's been to doctors. I'll say not much more, as I'm not looking for medical advice. In the past, when she's been on her period, she's bled over bedding or the sofa, the floor, and she says it's because it's a heavy flow. She's sometimes in a lot of discomfort, so she's asked me to clean it up. I got home yesterday and it was everywhere. I can't even explain how bad it was. I don't know how she managed it, but she said it was heavier because it was late. I told her I wouldn't be tidying up and went to bed. I'd had a really long day, my dad is sick, so I had to spend time comforting my mother, which in itself was hard, but then I spent the day on my feet being yelled at by customers. She was obviously upset, but there's usually discomfort when her period starts, so it's not unusual. I did get out the heated blanket for her and some pain meds. Today, I apologized to her for assuming she was going to ask. She said, I was, so I said, oh. Not as sorry then because I wasn't going to tidy it. to which she stormed out, told me I should understand by now that she struggles occasionally and I need empathy. I said she needs to learn that she has them enough that she should be the one to clean up after herself. We're not speaking right now. Am I the jerk? I think the main reason I don't think OP's the jerk is just because she's so insistent that OP seems to be the one who has to clean up after her. I don't think anybody's going to be happy being in a situation long term where somebody else makes a mess, regardless of circumstance, short of like proper expected disability, and then expects you to clean it up for them. Our next story is, am I the jerk for not eating dinner my girlfriend cooked? My 27-year-old female girlfriend, 29-year-old female, is a great home cooker and baker. I eat everything she makes with zero complaints. Today, she spent about 7 hours cooking braised beef cheek while I worked for several hours. I've never eaten beef cheek before, and she warned me it'll look a bit different compared to normal beef due to the muscles and all. When she started to pull it apart, it was gray on the inside and so off-putting. I gave her a very disinterested face and was less than enthused, and I could tell she was a bit hurt I wasn't more excited about it. I tried some. It tasted exactly like meat you'd put in shepherd's pie, and I said she went through a lot of effort for little reward. After that, she got quiet and started eating a very small plate of the beef cheek and sides. I went back to working in the same room. By the time I looked up at her, she was packing up the dinner into leftover boxes and cleaning dishes. I got upset by her reaction and headed off to bed without eating. 20 minutes later, she comes into the bedroom with a burger and some croquettes that she cooked for me, but I told her I wasn't hungry and was going to bed. When she heard that, she gave her dog my burger and has ignored me since. Am I the jerk? OP sounds a bit entitled to me, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, what reaction were you upset about when she was quietly packing the food? Upset that she wasn't like forcing it down your throat or like just leaving it there to probably go bad? Was OP all moody when they tried to make something that they knew you would like and brought it to you? OP was one step away from just smacking the plate out of her hands. This next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to tell my mom my new address? I, 23-year-old female, recently moved in with my boyfriend, 23-year-old male. We've been dating for a couple of years now, and my parents didn't know about him. This was because they wouldn't approve for various reasons. Different religion, culture, race. Well, they found out. Believe it or not, my mom got suspicious and followed me and saw me with him. They gave me absolute heck, and I don't think I cried that much in years. The things they said about me and my boyfriend were extremely hurtful, and I decided enough was enough. My boyfriend immediately had me move in, and my sister helped. It's been a couple months now, and my mom's cooled down. My dad won't talk to me, but I don't give a freak anymore. My mom and I will have civil conversations, though she hasn't apologized yet for following me. Don't think she ever will. Anyways, none of them know my address. My sister and friends do, my parents do not. They have absolutely no idea where I am. And while my mom claimed not to care the first months, she's began asking me to give her the address so she knows I'm safe and where to look if something ever happened. Thing is, I don't want to. She promises she won't tell my dad until he cools down, but I don't believe her. I also don't want her to come over and find more things to judge my boyfriend for either. The pros just don't seem to outweigh the cons for me. My mom's really upset about this. She keeps saying that she's just trying to make sure her daughter is safe and that I don't understand how scared she is. She said that I'm being inconsiderate towards her and causing her a lot of stress. My boyfriend said that it's ultimately my choice, but he'd prefer that my dad doesn't find out. My sister doesn't know what she'd do, but said that our mom is pretty stressed. I feel a little bad, but again, I don't feel it's worth it. Am I the jerk? I think that's just how they want you to feel. They just want you to feel bad and terrible for withholding this information from them, because obviously they want to have an emotional stranglehold over you. And let's be real, OP's mom has probably been trying to run the full gamut trying to find some way to get that address information. This next story is, am I the jerk for kicking out my son and his family because they won't leave my dog alone? My roommate is a 12-year-old, 55-pound basset hound named Donovan. He's kind of a jerk, so we don't tend to interact much. My ex and I divorced a few years back and I kept the house. Long story, not relevant other than to say I have room for guests and she does not. My son's visiting in town with his wife and his 2 kids. The kids are 3 and 5. I'm letting them stay with me for the duration of the visit. I only have 2 rules: don't drink my good liquor and stay away from Donovan. My daughter-in-law is a beautiful and intelligent young lady. Other than marrying my kid, she seems to have a good head on her shoulders. My son, unfortunately, is like me. He's kind of lazy and shiftless in general. He's a good husband, father, and truthfully son. He just likes to take shortcuts that are not great decisions. My daughter-in-law went to visit her folks today and left the kids and my son at home. They're discussing private family business that the kids don't need to know about, and they don't need 2 miniature versions of my son and I running around like maniacs during this time. Donovan stays in our room when I have guests. He is not a good host. He is kind of a hateful jerk. My son wanted to watch the Suns Mavericks game, which is fine by me. I'm enjoying my time with my grandkids. We were drawing on a big roll of newsprint I keep around for when any of my grandchildren visit. The teenagers hate it. Just kidding, I have fiber optic internet. They're happy in their own little world. They also have a good relationship with Donovan, so they can sit out in the sunshine with him. My son decided to entertain his kids by letting Donovan out of his room. I don't know why, since I was fine drawing with the kids. Donovan stepped on the little one. Now I'm dealing with that crap, and Donovan is howling along with the crying. I put Donovan back in his room and I gave my kid $50 to get out of the house and take his kids to a movie or something. Now he's upset that he'll be missing the game. Maybe he should have left my dog the freak alone. I just got off the phone with his mother and she says I'm being a jerk. I told her she was welcome to have them at her apartment. I'm just waiting for my daughter-in-law to get home to control her husband. I don't think OP's the jerk because they just had one simple rule. Don't mess with the dog's in your room, be careful. And they screwed up that one rule. OP can't be the jerk here, right? Our next story is, am I the jerk for getting my grandma kicked out? I, 15-year-old female, am mixed race. My mom, 44-year-old female, is black, and my dad, 47-year-old male, is white. His family's not racist, besides his mother, 78-year-old female. She is horrible, and barely anyone in the family can tolerate her. I barely see her and don't know her well. Recently, the witch had a heart attack. She lived alone and she wasn't found for a while. My dad has 2 older brothers, and initially my grandma was supposed to move in with one of them because grandma is racist. However, they both live in a different state, and my grandma didn't want to leave behind her friends and family, so she promised she would be respectful to me and my mom. My dad still didn't want to let her live with us, but my mom, who is too kind for her own good, felt bad and convinced him to let her live with us. It has been nightmarish having her here. She's only been here since Christmas time, but I am sick of her. She doesn't say anything to me, but she is constantly bullying my mom. She threw out half of my mom's spice cabinet because the food smelled. She makes constant comments on my mom's hair, and she accidentally ruined one of my mom's cultural dresses with bleach. My mom also has a fruit and vegetable garden that she lovingly tends to, and my grandma will say things like, "No wonder you're so dark, you're always outside." She also says that my baby brother, 6 months, is lucky to have my dad's light eyes and fairer skin unlike me because I look exactly like my mom. Grandma behaves herself in front of my dad, and my mother won't tell him about what's been going on. I decided that I would tell him, and he got into a massive argument with her. He's arranged with his brother to have her live with him instead. My mother is really annoyed at me because she was the target of the racism, not me, and she didn't want to tell my dad and get an old woman kicked out. She's telling me that my grandma is a product of her time, and I should have been understanding because she's old, her health is fragile, and she'll be lonely living with my uncle. I'm starting to feel bad now because I know loneliness and big changes aren't good for the elderly. Am I the jerk? I don't think anybody can be the jerk for just pointing out the obvious that they cannot live and thrive with a person who's so intolerable. I mean, it sucks for them, sure, but you can't feel too bad for a person who is just so much of a jerk themselves. Our next story is, am I the jerk for dumping my sister's toddler onto our parents and refusing to babysit? I, Leah, 26-year-old non-binary, they, them, have a sister, Riza, 30-year-old female, who has a 2-year-old kid, 2-year-old male, with her husband Chris, 34-year-old male. I adore my nephew. I live apart from my family but in the same city, so I visit every other weekend or whenever my schedule allows. I've babysat my nephew before, usually weekends, always in my sister's home. The other day, my sister messaged me that she, brother-in-law, and the kid were on the way to my apartment. A bit out of the blue, but maybe they were headed somewhere and stopping by to say hi. However, when I answered my door, my sister began hurriedly explaining that they needed someone to watch the kid while they go to their doctor's appointments, and I'm their only option. The problems: I'm self-employed, work from home, but juggle 3 clients and jobs with time-sensitive deadlines. I have ADHD, so I hyper-focus, meaning I might not notice something wrong with my nephew if I'm working. My tiny apartment is not childproof in any way. I'm only just starting to recover from an infection. My sister knows all of this. I try to explain that I can't watch the kid. My sister overrides me and says our brother is teaching and our retired parents specifically requested time off from helping with their grandchild. Sister and brother-in-law really need to get to the hospital, so they need me to do this. After a firm thank you, they leave. Attempt not to panic failed successfully. I send my sister several messages, any alternatives, and she replies again that she's really sorry, but I'm their best option. It's only 6 hours at most, and she'll make it up to me. I text my mom, and after a while, she replies saying she and my dad need a break from watching the kid, so they'll be taking the afternoon to catch up on Netflix. I don't text my brother because I know he's in class. No permission from sister, daycare plus scared to leave a 2-year-old in daycare anyway, so I booked a taxi and went over to my parents' place. They were not happy when I showed up with nephew, but I said I had work, was still sick, and their house is much better equipped for a 2-year-old than my place. My mom sort of made a face and huffed, but took my nephew. I went back home to work. Later in the day, my sister sends a barrage of texts, scolding me for being irresponsible with her child and inconveniencing my parents. For her, I could have made the sacrifice for just a few hours, and it was a jerk move to do what I did. Her husband also sent a text that he was disappointed with how I handled the situation and expected better of me. Then my mom sent several texts saying they're angry with me for ruining their day because they'd specifically said they didn't want to watch my nephew. To me, I had enough justification not to babysit my nephew, but my family's labeling me the jerk for my actions. Was I wrong to decide how I did? Am I the jerk for dumping my nephew on my parents? This wasn't a proper emergency, so OP didn't really have any true responsibility. And the parents saying, oh, well, we're just tired of watching them. Like, I completely understand where they're coming from, and I understand why they would be upset. But they're still better than OP to watch this kid. And OP actually has a reason to not watch them. Them wanting to catch up on Netflix isn't good enough. Basically, I just think any and all complaints should just go back to the parents every single way. It's not OP's fault. This next story is, am I the jerk for referring to my son's wedding reception as a barbecue? My son and his partner, both of whom are in their early 40s, were married on Friday. They decided to have a very simple courthouse wedding with only a select few close family members in attendance, followed by a backyard barbecue reception at their home with more friends and extended family invited. Leading up to their event, I had misplaced the date a couple of times as my phone calendar's been acting up and not syncing with my computer, which was the device I had used to input their wedding. Due to this, I had a few times accidentally went to make other plans for this weekend before being corrected. Erroneously, I responded that I'd not forgotten about their little barbecue get-together and I would change my other plans. Again, my phone calendar has not been populating from my computer. Additionally, unlike with my daughter's wedding where I was very involved, my son and his partner wanted everything to be understated and simple, and so I had no involvement in planning. They've been partners close to 20 years at this point, and I consider them basically married for all intents and purposes. I am finding, however, now that the event is over, my daughter's told me that she didn't like the way I spoke about the wedding or reception. In particular, she did not like that I referred to their party as a barbecue, apparently. I find that since their father and I divorced, that all the fault lies with me in my children's eyes. I wasn't aware of any offense, but my son will never tell me when he's upset and prefers to more or less ignore me half the time. I'm still not sure what social faux pas I've made with the younger crowd this time. Perhaps nothing in my family in particular is sensitive. Of course, I'll apologize to my son if he took any offense. This isn't about any social faux pas with a younger crowd. This is about understating and underselling what this event is. and also just the overly casual demeanor when it comes to such an event. This is an event that clearly means a lot to OP's kid and their partner, and they can hardly even remember that it exists, let alone what the event is, calling it just a little barbecue. That's like calling somebody else's baby shower that they have in their backyard just a little weekend get-together. Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to let my sister stay at my apartment? My sister, 28-year-old female, has always been the irresponsible one of the both of us, even though I, 24-year-old female, am younger than her by 4 years. Recently, my sister's gotten into drugs and excessive drinking with friends. The apartment she was renting kicked her out a few months back, and I let her stay with me for a bit. However, when she threw a giant house party while I was at a business trip, I told her she needed to look for somewhere else to stay. Recently, she was involved in a car accident. Edit, yes, she was the one driving, no one else was hurt. She broke her collarbone and her ankle. Yes, she was inebriated. She lost her recently rented apartment because she couldn't afford to pay rent, and asked if she could stay with me. For context, both of our parents, divorced, told her that she could stay with them, but she told them both that she had already made arrangements with me without actually asking me. My parents think it's selfish not to help her in her time of need, but she's done this all her life, where she makes giant mistakes and expects everyone to drop everything for her. So am I the jerk? I don't think OP's the jerk whether they allow her or don't allow her to. Clearly OP's had enough of dealing with these kinds of situations, and I don't blame them. Our next story is, am I the jerk for leaving a tampon wrapper on the counter in my bathroom? My twin brother, male 17, and I, female 17, both have our own bathrooms that are attached to each of our bedrooms. When I was watching TV in the living room, he used my bathroom without asking or telling me. When he came out, he was yelling at me for leaving a tampon wrapper on the counter, which I didn't even realize I did. He was telling me it was disgusting to leave it out like that, and that it's not that hard to throw it away. I told him that it was an accident and that it's not disgusting, it's just a wrapper. Am I the jerk? 100% not the jerk. This dude went into your bathroom first and foremost. This dude needs to get over himself. It's completely normal. What, is he afraid of catching cooties? Our next story is, am I the jerk for not telling my boyfriend I own the house we live in? My boyfriend, male 25, and I, female 26, recently decided to move in together. His lease had expired and his roommates were looking to move out with their girlfriends. The rental scene where we live is crazy at the moment, and he couldn't find anything close to where he works that fits his budget. We've been together just over a year, so I decided to offer him to move into my place. It's only about a 20-minute commute for him to get to work, and my friend recently moved out to go live with her parents again, so it was just me in the house. He agreed and he moved in about 3 weeks ago. The issue began when he started to ask how much his half of the rent was. I responded and said rent wasn't an issue and that it's just easier for me to continue with how it was before he moved in. He was taken aback, but we agreed to split water, electricity, groceries, etc. 50-50. Last weekend, I had some family over and my dad was asking me about interest rates and my mortgage. He overheard this conversation, and after my family left, we had an argument. He was upset that I didn't tell him that I owned my home. He feels as if I lied to him and deceived him. He's upset because he feels like I betrayed his trust. I do see where he's coming from, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. I was eventually going to tell him, I just didn't think I absolutely had to tell him in that moment. Most of my friends are telling me that I should have told him before he moved in, but a few of them firmly believe that it wasn't a huge deal. Ultimately, I think the reason is that I don't tell my boyfriend that I own the house we live in together, and telling him it's no different if we moved into a rental together. I just don't understand why OP felt the need to hide it. If you've been dating this person for a year, you're definitely very committed to them. Unless things seem to be on the rocks, I don't understand why you would feel the need to hide that you own the house. And just because of the somewhat trivial nature of it, I think that maybe makes OP the jerk, because if you're dating somebody for a year, you move into a place with them, and you find out after living there for a while that they've actually owned this place all along and just never told you, how does that make you feel? Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my daughter that her best friend is clearly in love with her? My 53-year-old male, daughter, 20-year-old female, is a lesbian. I'm perfectly fine with that. However, her best friend, 21-year-old male, is clearly in love with her. As a man, I can tell by the way that he looks at her that he sees her way more than as a friend. But if that's not enough, he buys her expensive gifts, takes her out to dinner, and even brings her to his family's vacation home. Her friend is a very nice kid and is clearly chasing after my daughter, who simply isn't interested in men. I recently told my daughter what I think about her friend's feelings towards her, and that I think she should let him know that she's not interested. However, my daughter disagrees that he's into her romantically and has told me to butt out. I tried bringing it up again, and now my daughter's ignoring me completely. Am I the jerk? Honestly, whether or not this guy actually is chasing after her or not, that's irregardless. I mean, whatever the relationship is between them, as long as it's not an abusive one, it's honestly kind of not any of OP's business. She already expressed once that she wanted OP to drop it. OP needs to accept that. Our next story is, am I the jerk for not buying my sister what was on her registry? I, 29-year-old female, have a sister, 26-year-old female. She's pregnant and recently had a baby shower. She had a registry of things she needed. I didn't buy anything off of that though. I had ordered custom-made onesies with my niece's name on it and a changing pad. I don't have much money. I have a geriatric dog who cost a lot. I thought the gift I gave was cute and meaningful and that she'd also be getting a lot of other gifts. After the baby shower, my sister pulled me aside and asked why I didn't pick anything off of her registry. I had said that I saw those and thought they were cute, but the registry's just a suggestion. My sister got annoyed and said the registry stuff is stuff they actually need and that I gave her useless things and then walked away. I guess she talked to my mom because my mom also said to me I should have just picked something from there because I know how my sister is and it would have helped her out. I'm now upset because I was excited about my gift and wasn't aware that the registry was so important. Now, I'm definitely not experienced as far as the do's and don'ts as far as a registry goes, but I do believe that it is just a suggestion, and like a suggestion to give a gift, not even like a homemade one. They're supposed to just be grateful they get any gifts at all. Our next story is, am I the jerk for kicking my daughter out? My 38-year-old female, daughter Rose, 19-year-old female, has never been the nicest. She is incredibly ungrateful for everything she has. I let her and her best friend share her bedroom. Her best friend has less fortunate parents, and they don't contribute to any household chores. I even had to start hiding pots and pans from them because I didn't want them to use my nice kitchen supplies. Her room is constantly a mess despite the many attempts I've made to get her to straighten up. I told her in November that she needed to find a place to put some old pageant dresses she'd been keeping in the garage. She said she didn't have space anywhere in her room. I told her she has 2 weeks to do something with them or I will. She didn't touch them. I burned the dresses with our trash one morning after the 2 weeks. My daughter came outside and immediately started shouting at me to not touch her stuff and said I was crazy, etc. I told her I was sorry, but that I told her that she needed to do something with them. She said this was the last straw and made a long Snapchat post about how tired she is of how I treated her. I told my other daughter, Corey, 23-year-old female, who showed it to me, that a few weeks after Rose went back to school, I was going to move her room into storage. Rose found out about this last month and told me I was being unfair and a coward for not telling her myself. I didn't respond. I was so hurt and upset that my daughter would talk about me negatively online. I couldn't talk to her. I asked my husband to tell her that I'm waiting on an apology from her before I'll speak to her again. After my husband told her, Rose came and got her things. The day after, Rose posted another lengthy rant about what a sad excuse of a mother I was on Facebook. She said she won't talk to me unless I go to therapy. I'm beginning to think I may be the jerk for kicking her out. Her reaction was intense, but she's my daughter. Update, I forgot to mention that Rose is autistic. Because of this, she's always been very difficult to communicate with. And I've tried my best over the years, but it's possible I was going about it wrong. I never asked her to do chores, but I would make comments hinting at it so that I didn't have to directly tell her. She's 19. I didn't think I'd have to ask her to wash her dishes, but I realized this probably contributed to our relationship problems. So, if you never tell your kid directly to do chores, how do you expect them to just do the chores? You've got to parent your child. Also, despite how frustrating it is that they didn't do anything with the dresses, didn't move them, you don't go and take them and burn them in the front yard. That's how you very quickly cement yourself as an awful parent for the rest of your kids' lives. The fact that you'd go and take their belongings and do that, again, despite the fact that they didn't touch them for 2 weeks, to me, just talks too much about who you are at your core, which is like needlessly spiteful. Am I the jerk for wanting my own room? I, 24-year-old female, and my fiance, 25-year-old male, are moving into a small 3-bedroom house together in a couple of months. I had never had my own room growing up and share a room with a roommate in my current living situation to save up money. I always felt the need to share and felt guilty when I wanted to be alone in my room, but couldn't since someone else was there. The only time I had a room all to myself was when my roommate or sibling was away. Even so, I didn't feel like I truly had a room to myself. When discussing the use for one of the spare rooms in our soon-to-be house, I mentioned wanting to turn it into a bedroom for myself when I want to be alone. My fiance was confused and said he wanted to use the spare room for an at-home gym instead. The other spare room will be an office for when my fiance needs to work from home. I argued that he already has a claim over one of the spare rooms and that I should be allowed to use the other one for myself. I told him that I was looking forward to having a space all to myself where I can be alone when I want, and am the only person that has access to. He argued that the point of moving in together was to share everything with each other and not just coexist in the same space. He said he would change his mind on wanting a gym if we agree to turn the second room into a guest bedroom that both of us can use when we want to be in our own space. I feel like I would still be sharing. If I have a room to myself to use and he wants to be alone at times, I can just go into my own room and give him the space he wants. We would be splitting the expenses 50-50, so I don't think I'm being that unreasonable. Am I the jerk for wanting to have my own room? I don't think OP's being unreasonable only because I'm assuming he would probably not want to share his office. So it's not fair that he gets to share 2 of the 3 rooms with you and gets one all to himself as well. If you want to make a big deal about moving in together and compromising, then he should actually compromise. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you enjoyed getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, am I the jerk for not wanting to apologize over and over again for my daughter's upbringing? I, 45-year-old female, had my daughter CJ, now 28-year-old female, when I was 17 years old. Her father didn't stick around and we really struggled for a bit. Even when I graduated college, I had a bunch of student loan debt as well as juggling rent, food, and other expenses. CJ never lacked necessities, but I admit she didn't get a lot of material possessions. I would try and save up as much as possible to make Christmas and birthdays as fun as possible, but she didn't get much else throughout the year, and we only went on 2 vacations total in her childhood. We definitely ate a lot of struggle meals and had to move often. We honestly teetered on the poverty line. When CJ was 17, I was finally debt-free, got a promotion at work, and was doing much better. I did start to give her things throughout the year. I used my bonus to take her to Disney World, somewhere she always wanted to go but couldn't. It was nice that after years of struggling, I could spoil her a little. She went off to college, and in this time I met my husband Matthew. We got married and now have 2 kids together, Jack, 5-year-old male, and Melissa, 6-year-old female. With our combined incomes, we live quite comfortably. I admit Jack and Melissa have gotten a lot more than CJ did at that age. I've certainly never left her out. She's always invited on our trips, we pay. I get her random gifts throughout the year, birthdays and Christmases are bigger. I'm trying to make it as even as I can, but I know it realistically will never be. CJ first pointed out the discrepancy a couple of years ago when we took the kids to Disney. CJ went with us. I sat CJ down and apologized for her childhood. I said I wish it was in a better place when she was their age. I know I can never truly make up for it, etc. I said I know it'll take time for her to heal from that. I thought that was it, but since then, CJ has constantly complained whenever her siblings get anything. I'm always super sensitive to her feelings, validate them, etc. But things came to a head recently on Jack's birthday. Instead of a party, he opted to see the off-Broadway production of Frozen. We, as always, invited CJ to come along, as well as her fiance. The whole night she was pouting and seemed upset. I tried talking to her, but she brushed it off. We went to dinner after the show. Jack and Melissa were excitedly talking about it. CJ then butted in, "You know what I got for my 5th birthday, Jack? a Barbie from the dollar store. The kids didn't really see the big deal, but the adults at the table understood. I was civil the rest of the meal, but later called CJ and told her what she did was unacceptable. I cannot continuously apologize for her upbringing and she can't throw it in my face. I asked if she wanted me to give her siblings less simply because she did. She said no, but that she can bring it up whenever she wants, and she'll continue to do so. I said I was disappointed and hung up. Later, CJ sent me a very long text telling me I was a horrible mother. Am I the jerk? I think CJ is just very clearly going through a lot of stuff internally. I feel bad for them because it's just clear that they're struggling with some tough thoughts to themselves that really aren't true, and it's kind of manifesting in bad behavior. I don't know if there's much OP can do to kind of curb this behavior or have them get some kind of help without things flaring up to an even higher degree. I just wish OP the best of luck in that I think they've been doing all they can and have been doing good to be the best mother they can back then and now. Maybe the one thing that could help this is one-on-one time with OP and CJ doing things. Things that feel special and are specifically special for CJ rather than just inviting CJ to things. Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to apologize to my girlfriend for not recognizing her? I, male 22, recently suffered a traumatic brain injury and I've developed prosopagnosia, face blindness. I'm able to vaguely recognize my immediate family, but it's near impossible for me to recognize anyone else unless I remember other distinctive cues about their appearance, such as a unique hair color or accessory. This has been really hard on me, and I've been hospitalized for the past 2 weeks for other medical reasons related to my TBI. I texted my girlfriend, female 21, to explain my condition to her and linked her some articles on it. She insisted on visiting me since she hadn't seen me since I was hospitalized. When she came into my room, I wasn't sure whether she was my cousin had planned on visiting too, a nurse, or my girlfriend. She didn't say anything to introduce herself, so I asked her, "Can you tell me who you are?" When she replied, I could hear that she was extremely mad and I recognized her voice as my girlfriend's. She said, "Are you freaking for real? You don't recognize me?" And I told her that I physically cannot recognize her. And she started crying about how that means she wasn't important enough to recognize and a whole lot of other stuff. I was honestly hurt that she was upset with me over a medical condition that I recently acquired and I'm struggling with. This has changed the entire course of my life and has caused me so much emotional pain already. Not to mention the other trauma I sustained from my accident. If she had read my explanation I texted her, or the articles I sent, she would understand that my ability to recognize her has nothing to do with my care for her. She got upset at me for not apologizing to her, but I refused and told her to leave me alone and go home. Am I the jerk? This is just terrible, terrible insecurity and hoping for some magical Disney movie moment where OP has an awakening moment, but this is real life. This is a traumatic brain injury. She needs to come off of her fairy tale cloud and try to support OP, or if OP and their traumatic brain injury is too much for her to deal with, at least spare OP the worry of pretending that she cares. This next story is, am I the jerk for telling my girlfriend that her having depression isn't an excuse to be a slob? Recently, my girlfriend moved in with me a couple of months ago into my home due to her being on bad terms with her parents. Living with her has been a little bit of a struggle because she's a very messy person. She leaves her clothes everywhere on the floor and on the bed. Can't be bothered to fold or hang up her clothes in the closet. I swear she uses our bed as a closet. She sometimes brings food into the room and doesn't throw it away. Even worse, she sometimes puts the garbage under the bed so I don't complain about it. I don't even want to get started on what the bathroom looks like. I had to start using the guest bathroom. I understand that having depression can make it harder for someone to take care of themselves and their environment, but I feel like there's a limit to where you're just using it as an excuse to just do whatever and not care, especially when you're living in someone else's home. I keep telling her to clean up after herself and that I'm tired of cleaning up after a grown woman, and she always responds that she has depression and ADHD, which I don't see how that's an excuse. You have depression, sure. How does that make you leave garbage everywhere and be a slob? I don't get it. You're an adult. Act like it. She got angry and accused me of not giving a freak about what she's going through and called me an unsympathetic moron. Apparently, I'm not being supportive and understanding of her mental health because I have a problem with her treating my house like it's a garbage dump. Am I the jerk here? I feel like I was overly harsh because I probably could have addressed this issue in a friendlier way. But after many attempts of trying to get her to be more clean and pick up after herself, I just had enough. This is a really difficult one to me because it seems like there is definitely issues at hand that are influencing these behaviors. But at the same time, going to the lengths of intentionally hiding things under the bed just to avoid, properly throwing them away seems a bit much. Is OP the jerk for just saying I've had enough of this? Our next story is, am I the jerk for kicking my sister out of my engagement dinner because she wouldn't stop taking photos and made a scene? I'm blessed to be marrying the love of my life. My engagement party was booked at an upscale restaurant, and prior to the day, I sat my sister down and told her that I wanted the party to be focused on the wedding, and to please not go above and beyond to take photos for her social media page. I might get flack for this part, but my sister is trying really hard to become famous online. I've never said anything to her because she's an adult and this is her life, but for my wedding, I really didn't want her to pull any of her antics, because she doesn't just take a few photos to post. She's the embarrassing, in my opinion, caricature of the perpetually online influencer. She'll order 2 dishes at a restaurant, one to take photos of because it's prettier, and the second to actually eat. She's stopped traffic before to take outfit photos in the street. She's also staged fake things to post online. One time, she started crying in a Starbucks and made a fake story up about how the barista bullied her. I want to make it clear that I did not bar my sister from taking photos. I just didn't want her doing something that would embarrass me. Everything was okay until she literally stood on top of her chair to take a top-down photo of her meal. Everyone was staring and in shock, and a waiter had to come and ask her to sit down. She refused to and started to loudly argue with the waiter, saying that she was the sister of the bride, and then started to loudly sob that she was getting bullied. I was mortified and immediately had the groomsmen escort her out of the room. She's since blasted me on social media, calling me the jerk for not handling the situation with more grace and empathy. She says I could have given her a warning instead of kicking her immediately out. I was kind of panicking, so I wonder if I could have handled it better. I mean, it's already kind of going too far if they were doing that in like an actual restaurant, let alone a place that's specifically all about a celebration of you and your partner becoming engaged. I just can't blame OP one bit. Like I said, they would already be going way too far if this was just a restaurant. This next story is, am I the jerk for not letting my miracle baby niece be my flower girl at my wedding? My 27-year-old female, older brother and sister-in-law, both mid-30s, just welcomed their first child a year and a half ago, after years of trying. After many failed attempts, sister-in-law was told that she wouldn't be able to conceive due to a medical condition she has. They finally got pregnant. Since having my niece, the baby has been the center of attention at every family event we've had since she was born. Birthdays, weddings, family get-togethers, you name it. Now don't get me wrong, I love my niece. But it can get to be a little too much when my sister-in-law goes on and on about how long they tried to conceive, complications they've had, miscarriages they've had, etc. Like a little too much info. Many family members have commented on how it's a little bit excessive, but no one said anything because they don't want to sound like a jerk. Anyway, I'm getting married in the spring, and my brother and sister-in-law approached me last weekend about having my niece be the flower girl. Now, my fiance, 35-year-old male, has 2 children, 10-year-old male and 6-year-old female from his previous marriage. His son is one of his groomsmen, while his daughter's asked to be our flower girl when we told them the news that we were getting married a year ago, as it's something she's always wanted to do. So, of course, we said yes. So, I explained this to my sister-in-law when she asked me about my niece. She asked if my stepdaughter can just carry my niece with her. I said I don't think she'll be comfortable with that considering she's 6. She then asked why I can't give that role to my niece and allow herself to carry my niece down as the flower girl. I said no because I'd already promised my stepdaughter. She then started going off about how my lack of effort to incorporate my niece is disgusting to her. I should honor her in some way since I know how long and hard they tried for my niece. Now, I may sound like a jerk for this, but I kind of got fed up and snapped and said, "Incorporate my niece how? By the time this wedding comes around, she'll be 2 years old. The entire family already knows your story about how long and hard you guys tried for her. What more do you expect me to do to honor her?" She started crying and said that clearly I don't love my one and only niece and I'm letting her down. I said, of course I love my niece, and obviously she's going to be involved in pictures and stuff, but I'm not going to let my stepdaughter down by giving my niece a role she's too young to remember anyway. Well, now sister-in-law and my brother are pissed off with me for not letting my niece be flower girl, and are running around telling the rest of the family I don't love my niece. My mom's been trying to stay neutral, but thinks my stepdaughter would understand if I explained to her I need to give that role to my niece. I'm firm in my decision though, and my fiance is thankful that I didn't let his daughter down. Am I the jerk for not allowing my niece to be the flower girl? I think you have a right to pick whoever you want to be your flower girl, and I think you have the right to pick not only whoever you want, but to not be shamed for picking whoever you want. Also, I agree with OP. I think nobody really wants to hear too much into the how hard you've been trying to have this baby. It's a bit weird to just keep telling everybody you can, yeah, we've been trying so hard every day for years. I mean, just use your common sense. What picture is created when you say you've been trying to do that every day for years? It is a bit TMI. Our next story is, am I the jerk for not wanting to pay for dinner? Typing this out sounds insane, but I really don't think I'm in the wrong, but I need to know. A friend invited me to a dinner party at her house a few weeks ago. The actual dinner party was last night. I asked if I should bring anything, but she said no, it's not a potluck, she'll be making dinner for everyone. There were 7 of us total and the food was good. During the meal, we were all laughing and called our friend, dinner host, a chef, because she made a big dinner for all of us and we all said how much we appreciated it because it's hard to get everyone together at the same time. At the end of the dinner, we all helped clean, wash the dishes, and then had some wine. It started getting late, so people started to head out, and on our way out, the dinner host said, "Don't forget to Venmo, Cash App, or Zelle her." Some of us were confused because we had no idea what we had to send her. So I asked her, "What am I sending you money for?" And she said, "For cooking dinner." I said, "I don't understand why we should pay." She said, "Because I spent my money and hosted the dinner and cooked." I said, "None of us asked you to. You volunteered to do it, and you never mentioned paying until now." She said, "I didn't do this for free." I said, "You should have told us before you hosted that you expected this. I don't think it's fair to just bring this up and expect people to pay." She called me a jerk and said again that she didn't spend hours to cook and grocery shop for free. I've never heard of this, like ever. We kept arguing, and after a while I just Venmo'd her the $40 she asked for. I don't think I'm the jerk at all, and some of my friends agree with me. Some have said it's normal to pay for dinner during a dinner party at someone's house, so now I'm not sure. I would believe honestly enough that it's normal enough, but I think it's only normal if you tell them before the event that there's a charge. In no way should anybody normalize having a dinner party and then expecting to be paid afterwards with no prior mention. This next story is, am I the jerk for not giving my daughter who eloped cash for her honeymoon? My daughter Jane recently eloped with her partner of 5 years. My wife and I were excited when they got engaged to plan a wedding, but she said she didn't want to rush setting a date or planning a wedding. This was understandable to us and we didn't want to rush them either, but we let her know that we would contribute a set amount to her wedding when the time came. Then last week, she tells us she has an announcement and that they actually eloped together because they didn't want the big event with all the attention on them. This was a little disappointing, but we understood. She's never been the type to want to be in the spotlight, so while we weren't expecting it, it wasn't the biggest shock in the world. What did feel like a shock is when she assumed we'd just give her that amount of cash straight up. She said they wanted to use it to take a month-long traveling sabbatical/honeymoon. My wife and I told her the money we were prepared to give her was for a family event, not just for her to do as she pleases. If she didn't want a traditional wedding, that's fine. But we never told her we were just giving her, say, $15,000 for the act of getting married. We just didn't want her to have to spend a ton of her own funds on a wedding, and since relatives and family friends would have presumably been there, we were happy to pay for it so she wouldn't have to. Two of my nieces have gotten married in the last couple of years, and it's a family event to us, not just about the two people getting married. This has caused a whole thing with her saying that we went back on our word to her, but in my mind, we never told her otherwise. We did say if she wants a second ceremony or a family event to celebrate, but wouldn't be an official wedding, we would sponsor that. If she had asked if she eloped or had a tiny wedding, if we would give her some of it for a honeymoon, we may have considered it. But it's hard to know because we were never given the request. They just went and did their own thing, which again is fine. Am I the jerk for not just giving her the cash we would have paid? I think OP's definitely not the jerk, and I think anybody could probably see the realistic distinction between the two situations. It's one thing to say, well, if you want to have a big spectacle, we'll help you cover that. And then just expecting, well, screw the spectacle, just give us all the cash for it anyways, and we'll spend it on what we want to. This next story is, am I the jerk for no longer wanting to go over to my in-laws after they refused to let me get in their pool? I, 24-year-old female, and my boyfriend, 23-year-old male, were invited to a football draft pool party at his parents' house. They had just moved to Florida, so everyone flew in to draft their players. They just bought a new house in Florida and now have a pool. His parents invited my boyfriend and I over since my boyfriend's in charge of the draft, and because we live in an apartment and needed a bigger place to host the party. His dad usually hosts the party and offered to do it this past year, which we greatly appreciated. Anyways, fast forward, I helped put together a board where the guys can write their players on every round, and helped my boyfriend's mom set up the food. The party started and I changed into my swimsuit. I was finishing up setting up the food with his mother when my boyfriend asked me to come outside. He wanted me to get in the pool. I'd like to note I was wearing a one-piece that was not revealing as I wanted to respect everyone there. Plus, I felt more comfortable in it anyways. I have body image issues. When I was unbuttoning my shorts, his dad called me inside. His boyfriend's dad and mom pulled me into their room and proceeded to tell me that no women are allowed in the pool. The reason is because they don't want to distract the men or make them uncomfortable. I was in shock and didn't know what to say back. It was their home after all, so I just said okay and didn't press any further. Fast forward and my boyfriend's asking me where I am via text. And I tell him I'm inside helping his mom still, but he insists that I come outside again to talk. He tells me to get in again, and I keep telling him I don't want to, trying not to make a scene or play victim. He noticed my odd behavior, and when I finally told him the truth, he was pissed. He told his parents they were out of line and that the rule was unnecessary and stupid. They still said no to me getting in the pool. Later the next day, we're going home and I brought up how I felt. I felt small, disrespected, and frankly embarrassed. I further explained that his parents were extremely inconsiderate for inviting us over and never telling us this rule that they suddenly made. He told me that they are old school, and I told him that they were ignorant and inconsiderate and that I didn't feel comfortable going over there again. He told me I was being overdramatic. Am I the jerk for not wanting to go over to my in-laws anymore? It's maybe one thing if they said this dumb rule ahead of time, but for them to act like that when you got into your swimsuit, which wasn't even revealing to begin with, definitely OP's not the jerk here, right? This next story is, am I the jerk for avoiding a game day I wasn't invited to? My, female 45, husband, male 44, has a group of friends he occasionally has over for a day of board games, like 8 to 10 hour stretch. He goes to their houses to do the same. In the past, I was invited lots of the time, along with other wives or girlfriends. As we got older and kids came along, or for whatever reason, I'm not invited to participate. No other partners do either. It's probably been about 5 or 6 years. I've known these people for more than 20 years and I like them. I like games too, but whatever, it's his friend group, not mine. To be clear, I'm explicitly not invited to join in. Now, when he hosts, I try to be out of the house doing other things. When I am home, I go to a different floor of the house and just hang out by myself. I say hi briefly when I see his friends, but I don't stick around or have longer conversations. He asked why I'm like this, with annoyance after the last one. He says one guy's wife is in the kitchen with them and cooks for them most of the day. She likes doing that. It's not a weird gender role thing. Another sits with them and chats. He says it's awkward that I don't do that and very clearly avoid the house entirely if I can, and then that floor if I can't. From my perspective, informed by a lonely childhood, I have absolutely no interest in hanging around the edges of a social thing I'm not invited to. That seems so sad or pitiful or desperate. I kind of had enough of doing that sort of thing more than 30 years ago. I'm not invited. How could I possibly tell if I'm an annoyance or too much or affecting the dynamic from what they intended the dynamic to be by not having partners there? Further, it does hurt that I've been included and now I'm not. I really liked them and playing games. I guess that wasn't so much mutual. I'm also kind of sad that I'm not in a marriage where couple friends are a thing. We're friendly to each other's friends, but he, while entirely welcome, also isn't interested in hanging out with my friends. Maybe that's a rare situation for people. It's not what he wants and he has a right to that, but I can be sad about it. He seems to think I'm therefore pouting and taking it out on him. I think if I'm not included, it's crazy that there would be a problem with me absolutely not being there. So tell me, am I being an awkward and rude jerk? I think OP maybe kind of hinted at it, where this was like a get-together and partners and wives were invited. But when the kids came along, all of a sudden you stopped being invited. Is it because they expected you to stay back and watch the kids? I mean, even still, I could totally understand them wanting to have a guys' night every so often. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but it is weird if they're like, well, we still want you around, just don't take part in it. Like, what are you, a painting? Sounds to me like they just want you around so you can play waitress all day. Our next story is, am I the jerk for not wanting to make dinner every night? I, 40-year-old female, had jaw surgery in November and have had my jaw wired shut ever since. I'm mostly surviving on Ensure, blenderized soups, smoothies, and baby food. It's been tough. During this time, I've continued to make my child's breakfast every morning, make his lunch for school, do the grocery shopping, and make dinner most nights. Honestly, it's torture. My husband, 40, works full-time and doesn't really feel like cooking when he gets home. I get it, but at the same time, making dinner every night and having to watch and smell it cook when I know I can't eat it is awful. And I know there are a lot of ways to blend proper meals, but by the time I add enough broth, juice, etc. to make it drinkable, it's disgusting. The other night, I asked if he could make dinner at least a few nights a week, and he got pretty offended. He said that since I'm not working, I'm on medical leave, it's nice to come home to dinner being ready and not having to rush to start it. Last night, I thought I could compromise and get all of the ingredients prepared and ready so he could just do the actual cooking, and he was pretty ticked off all night. Am I being unreasonable? Am I the jerk for not wanting to cook every night? Now, I understand getting home from a full day of work and not wanting to have to go and make food. I think this compromise OP provided is very fair. Like, what is it, 30 minutes tops to cook a meal? Especially when you have everything prepared for you? Like, surely OP's not laying out a 7-course meal for them to make. God forbid OP's husband compromises for their wife. Not even compromises, supports them during a difficult time. This next story is, am I the jerk for not wanting to change my first dance song because of my stepsister's association with it? We've chosen our first dance song. My stepsister's not happy at all because she and her ex-husband also had this at their wedding, and she said she had a lot of memories with this particular song. She asked if I could change it. I told her I get it, but this is what we want and I don't want to change it. She said she understood, but she's been acting different around me and I can tell she was mad or upset. Most people who know about this don't think I'm doing anything wrong, but I had my sister and one of my friends tell me I'm being selfish and not understanding here. Am I the jerk? Some people are asking to edit in my comments, so here they are. A few months after my stepsister and their ex got married, he was in a wreck. He thankfully survived, but has a very severe traumatic brain injury, among other things. He lives in a specialized nursing home. They did get divorced, but my sister still goes on about how she loves him and visits him occasionally. He doesn't remember who she is most of the time, but my sister said she apparently sang this song to him, and he looks like he remembers her words. Come what may from the movie Moulin Rouge, my sister sees it as their song. She and her ex first met at the movies when they both went to watch it. Then, apparently the restaurant they went to for their first date was also playing it, so they took it as a sign. And as I said, they also played it at their wedding. She also sings it to him sometimes now. I think it's a really nice song and I'd like to play it too. I don't want to have to change it. Everybody pretty much is universally flaming OP for not changing it because of the circumstances their stepsister experienced, combined with the fact that OP doesn't want to change it just because they like the song. Usually I'm of the opinion that you should be able to do pretty much whatever you want, but I think this is one of those situations where you need to take a step back and just consider the optics and is it really worth it? Like you can't find any other first dance song that might have maybe even more meaning than that, just beyond it's a really nice song? Would you be the jerk for filing an insurance claim against someone that was just trying to help you? We'll get to that in a bit, but first, am I the jerk for refusing to talk to my sister about her fiance and telling him he's hurt because this is the truth? My sister Britt is pregnant, due in a couple of weeks. Her fiance is Nate. Me and Britt are very close and the baby is also the first grandchild / niece or nephew in our family, so we've all been supporting her in whatever way we can. At the end of February, Nate went away for a few days to attend a family memorial. Britt asked him not to go. He insisted and went anyway. She went over to our parents during that time. Since he's gotten back, Britt's pretty much ignoring and side-eyeing him. He texted me a few days ago saying this is the situation and surely I can understand, and if I can talk to her because she refuses to talk to him. I told Nate it's not a surprise why she's ignoring him. He left his heavily pregnant partner even after she said not to go. Nate replied that we're all hurting him and he needs support too. I was blunt and said he's hurt because this is the truth, that he left Britt alone. I can understand it's bad timing, but they could have gone to visit his family after the baby was born. He chose not to compromise. Right now, Britt is the one that needs the most support, and her biggest support should be him, her fiance, and father of her child. I also said I'm not going to talk to Britt about this, and she'll forgive him when she wants to. In the meantime, he should be doing everything he can to make it up to her. Nate was upset and texted that I'm being harsh on him and not understanding of the situation. Am I the jerk? Maybe if this was just like a family get-together, I could understand feeling this way, but this was a memorial. I'm not sure if OP really clarified, is this just a memorial for somebody who's already passed away in the past? Or is this for somebody that has just recently passed away? Pregnant or not, I don't think you can hold down somebody if they want to attend the funeral or memorial service for somebody they cared about. Would you guys agree when I say OP probably is in the wrong here? Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, am I the jerk for getting my ex-friend kicked out of our friend group due to my service dog? I just want to start by saying I'm pretty sure I'm not the jerk, but my friend and her family are pretty certain that I am. Please bear with me, I'm just wanting some clarity over this situation to make sure I'm not crazy. I, 24-year-old female, have epilepsy. I have a service dog, fully certified, who is trained to help me with my seizures. I've been diagnosed since a child, and I've had my current dog Bailey for 4 years now, and she's the bestest girl around. Before Bailey, I had a previous service dog who we had to retire due to age. But having a service animal is by no means new for me. With her being a service dog, she's obviously always with me. I have a core friend group who hangs out quite often. My one friend, let's call her Anna, also 24-year-old female, always makes really weird and almost passive-aggressive comments about me and Bailey. For example, dogs shouldn't come to restaurants, I'm inconveniencing people, etc. She doesn't get that I legitimately need her for my own safety. It's not just for show. My seizures are really regular. For context, I actually get two different kinds. My small ones are petite mal seizures. This essentially just looks like I'm zoning out and staring into space. Quite often, people who don't know me wouldn't even connect this. My big ones are my main concern. These are focal seizures where I fully lose consciousness. This can happen a couple of times a day for me, so it's obviously really important that I manage it to the best of my abilities. Anyways, our friend Anna wanted to host a games night / appy night type thing at her house. When there, she lost it on me. She told me it was incredibly disrespectful that I showed up with Bailey without asking for permission first. That I can't just assume people will be happy with a dog always being around. That I should have just stayed home if I couldn't handle being out for a few hours without Bailey. I tried apologizing and pointing out that I assumed she knew I was bringing her since I've never gone anywhere without her. That set her off more. The guys were finally able to calm her down, but her compromise was that I had to put Bailey in the backyard. I was an idiot and said fine because I didn't want to inconvenience anyone more or continue stirring the pot. Bailey went outside and I returned inside with my friends. I ended up having a seizure, blacking out, and smashing my head on the floor. I had to go to the hospital because of how hard I hit my head. I guess my friend group absolutely handed Anna her butt, calling her hateful, toxic, and a jealous witch. I guess she was trying to say that I passed out for the attention and I got in my way like always. Long story short, no one wants her around anymore. Since this happened, her sister, and mom have been blowing up my phone, calling me the jerk and demanding I fix the situation. And it's honestly getting to me, so Reddit, am I the jerk? I'm gonna take a page out of Anna's book and say OP's maybe posting this for the attention because honestly, it's pretty clear cut. OP's not the jerk here. That's how clear cut this is. If you deal with seizures and you have to have that dog there, you should be expected to always have that dog with you. Anna's just straight up ridiculous. Our next story is, am I the jerk for getting my girlfriend a gift basket full of things she avoided during pregnancy? I, male 26, became a dad a month ago. Hence why I'm posting at 4 a.m. I can't sleep. I got my girlfriend, female, 24, who I was living with, pregnant. Her parents never really approved of me after that. When I brought her home after the birth, her parents came with us. I paid a buddy of mine to buy a bunch of things she couldn't have while pregnant or avoided while pregnant and put them in a basket. Some notable items were sushi, an expensive bottle of her favorite wine, and a Keurig machine. I know she misses having a glass every once in a while. She's been especially strong when I had my buddies over to watch sports and we had a few beers. Also, she loves her coffee, and I couldn't tell you how she went to work for 8 months without it, so I felt bad and splurged. When her parents saw this gift, they called me uneducated and said that the alcohol can get in the breast milk. I told them that I did my research, and they said that it's immature to gift alcohol to a woman who just gave birth. I may be overthinking this, but am I the jerk? The parents are definitely overreaching here in my opinion, and I would suggest it's probably indicative that they don't really like OP that much. They're gonna try to find anything at fault. I think what OP did is a lovely gesture. Even if she can't have it right away, I don't know if that whole breast milk thing is true or not. I mean, getting back from the hospital after such a tough life experience and finding out your partner bought you all these things you liked that you couldn't have all that time, that would make me feel good. Our next story is, am I the jerk for thinking my mother-in-law's obsession with my son is absurd? I have a 4-year-old and I'm due with baby number 2 mid-year. My husband, 27, and I, 25, have been together since we were teens. Mother-in-law, 47, was jealous from the get-go of our relationship. I've read up a bit on this. It's to do with her not having their emotional needs met by a partner, so they subconsciously use their son to meet those needs. Then, when I fell pregnant with my now 4-year-old, she kept saying, "my baby," and sometimes she would slip and start referring to hubby as our child's brother. This continued my whole pregnancy, and she would boast about it to anyone and everyone. Then, when he was born, it all amplified. She wanted to take him to spend alone time with him from the time he was a couple weeks old, and would be offended when we said no. She would always say that grandma loves him more than his parents do. She would kick up a giant stink whenever she wasn't able to take him out alone. She never wanted to spend time with him around us. There were so many times where we tried to set boundaries, but she would always do it her way and guilt trip us. When we would do things together, she would physically push the pram out of my hands, and she would push the pram everywhere anytime we were together. I'll push my baby, and I was never allowed. She would never correct people if they assumed she was his mother. And as his parents, we thought that was too weird. He's always her grandson, but never ever is he our son. Anytime we do anything, it is always about her. It's like she's now using my son to meet her emotional needs, which, even though it's subconscious, to me it's sick. I've tried to place more boundaries, but always get met with guilt trips. When we go places together where my son will experience what I call firsts, all of those things are taken over by her. Even just small details like going to buy a drink. She needs to take him instead of us. She either takes him and does them without us, or I'll say, hey, maybe he could do that with his parents too, and she'll be unhappy, and making sure that he holds her hand, and he's sitting next to her and not us. She'll always make sure if he comes over to me that she gets his attention back onto her. She constantly tells him that she loves him the most. He's her favorite person. And anytime we do anything together, to make her the center of his attention. Now that I'm having another baby, also a boy, I've been worried it'll be the same thing all over again, but it's not. I caught her telling my son, "Don't worry, you'll be grandma's favorite always. You're grandma's boy. You won't have to share. I'll always be your favorite person." And that is just horrible. She's saying things like, "You and grandma can do things together and mom and dad can have the new baby." Am I the jerk for thinking that this is just absurd behavior? Yeah, I think OP and their husband have let this go on for way too long. I imagine it's hard and maybe even hurtful to have to put boundaries up that hard to your own mother. Maybe somebody that honestly until now has been a great mother, but you've got to. I mean, this is ridiculous, and it's going to hurt the kid too because they're gonna have some kind of weird attached obsession the longer this allows to go on as they grow older. This next story is, am I the jerk for reporting my classmates for joking that I have pretty privilege? Background, I'm female 23, one of only a few female students in a male-dominated course. Furthermore, I'm at a highly prestigious university, and I haven't really gotten along with the guys on my course. They're all very competitive, and I just don't really enjoy their company. Everything turns into a pissing contest, and they definitely take me less seriously because I'm a woman. I stopped interacting with them beyond the mere minimum and choose to hang out with other people. Anyway, I did well in our recent exams. I topped 2 out of the 4 exams we had so far. Our professor congratulated me during class. I wouldn't have advertised this myself. Ever since then, my interactions with a specific group of male classmates have gotten weird. They're now outright rude and challenged me aggressively in class discussions. We recently had some presentations, and one of them chose to do theirs on, to put it simply, pretty privilege. They specifically pointed to 2 papers that suggested that pretty female students get overscored in assessments. The other guys in the group snickered, and one even gave me a wink. Afterwards, I heard them in the hallway joking that they had experience with that themselves. I've been seeing a PhD student within our department for a month. He has literally nothing to do with our course. Well, we ran into one of my course mates A together. The next day in class, his friend B asked me if my boyfriend helped me with exams. He said this intentionally loudly and in front of the professor who heard this. I replied that I don't have a boyfriend because he's not my boyfriend. But then B pointed out that he'd run into me with the PhD student, making a point to say his name. The professor knows him. I just replied that we're only friends. They didn't let up. I heard that they discussed this thing in 2 more classes in earshot of the professors. Both times, they suggested that I got help for my exams. I wasn't even seeing him then. I didn't confront them, but this has been causing me so much anxiety, even without the exam accusations. I worked hard to get there, and I don't want to be known among the faculty for my dating life. I raised this issue with my supervisor without the intention of taking it any further, but I wanted her advice as a woman in academia. She convinced me to let her email their supervisors to remind them of proper conduct and described their treatment of an unnamed female student. She didn't name me, but they figured it out. They confronted me after class and asked why I would report their silly joke. Apparently, their supervisors are now very cold towards them and less interested in helping. It's not a formal complaint, only their supervisors know, but one of them, C, said his supervisor writes the reports for his financial aid and scholarship, and it was my fault if he lost out on that. I now feel a bit embarrassed, and this was compounded by a friend telling me I took it too far because C shouldn't lose out on his scholarship. So Reddit, am I the jerk? To me, oh god, I would feel so bad for this absolute jerk who puts down other people if they lost out on their scholarship. I say honestly, if their behavior leads to ramifications that lead to them losing out on their scholarship, they were the ones who chose to go down that path. They were the ones who chose to be insecure and outwardly misogynistic. What else is there to say? He sure as heck doesn't seem to be apologetic. OP should not feel bad or shameful for her or anybody else in a position to do so standing up for them. Our next story is, am I the jerk for asking my boyfriend to hold my bag while I use the restroom? Today I went to go see my boyfriend of 5 years and a few months. He and I went out today to get some ice cream, after which I said I needed to use the restroom. It wasn't the type of having to go where you have to go for 10 minutes or so, but more of a quick pee and exit. He wanted to eat his ice cream, so I asked him nicely to hold my bag and ice cream as I didn't want to put them on the floor. He began protesting, saying he wanted to eat his ice cream. I had to go, obviously, so I gave him my stuff and ran to the bathroom. I was upset to come out and find that he'd put my ice cream and bag on the floor and was standing there eating his ice cream. Normally, I don't ask him for things like that, but I didn't want to take my bag and food into the bathroom as they were kind of dirty. I got a little upset, and instead of saying anything, he starts laughing at me about it. Later, after I left, I tried texting him about it and letting him know I was upset, to which he responded that I needed to find another coat rack, and he proceeded telling me to shut the freak up. I told him I'd only asked one thing of him, and if he really expected me to stand there and argue with him when I had to use the restroom. He said he didn't damage the bag and that nothing happened to it, but I find it disgusting that he put my food on the floor instead of holding it for 2 minutes. I asked him if he really couldn't wait to eat his ice cream, and he responded he shouldn't have to be my coat rack. He continuously kept telling me this issue is not a big deal, and although it may not be to him, it is to me as I wouldn't do that to him. His response to this was just awful, and I let him know it's upset me, and I'll just drop it then after the 3rd or 4th time he told me to shut the freak up. I can't help but wonder here, am I the jerk for asking my boyfriend to hold my bag while I use the restroom? If you ask me, holding somebody's bag or somebody's food while they go to the restroom is kind of like the boyfriend tax. I mean, look at that old stereotype of men who go with their wives to the mall or whatever and they sit in the chair off to the side holding everything while they shop around. It's just something you do for your partner because you care about them. This guy seems cold and a jerk, and honestly, if this is the kind of behavior he has to this situation, I don't know why OP would entertain staying with this guy. I wouldn't see a future with somebody that treats you like that. This next story is, am I the jerk for telling my roommate's boyfriend that I'm a stripper? I, 21-year-old female, have been a stripper for about a year now. I'm open about it with people. My family knows what I do. I'm not ashamed of it at all. I was on the verge of being homeless when I started, and now just recently I was able to pay my rent for a year. I have 2 roommates. They know what I do, asked some questions about it in the beginning, but they're very accepting. People in our age group don't tend to care. The issue, I was in the kitchen making myself some dinner when my roommate, also 21-year-old female, walked in with her boyfriend. He's coming to visit for a few days. They started making themselves some food as well, so we exchanged some small talk. He asked me what I'm studying in school, and I told him that I'm taking a break from school for a few months and pretty much just focusing on work. He asked what I do for work, and I told him I'm a stripper. He was pretty much like, oh, cool, and we moved on. I finished up and went back into my room to eat. Didn't think anything of it, but I got a text from my roommate later that night. She said she really didn't appreciate me telling her boyfriend that I'm a stripper, especially dressed the way I was. I was confused because I was wearing shorts and a tank top, which is what I literally always wear around the house. And I also didn't know her boyfriend was coming, so it's not like I was planning it out. I told her that I'm sorry she was uncomfortable, but I tell anyone who asks what I do because I'm not ashamed of it, and I was just wearing what I normally do. She said that I should know better than anyone what a male mind is going to imagine when they see a woman wearing revealing clothes who then says she gets naked for money. Then said that I'm used to seeking out male attention. I truly didn't know how to respond and still don't. The conversation made me pretty uncomfortable, and I've pretty much just tried to stay in my room the past few days. I am aware that the nature of my job is sexual, and I know that some men will fetishize me, for a lack of a better word. So I do understand why she'd be upset about it. I just don't think I did anything directly wrong. I mean, I think this just talks about her and her confidence in her boyfriend more than anything. She literally thinks her boyfriend is just like one-track mind, like, see pretty lady, want to be with pretty lady, going to act on urges. Like, give your own boyfriend a little bit more benefit of the doubt. Our next story is, am I the jerk for calling the police on my soon-to-be ex-mother-in-law? I, 27-year-old female, split from my soon-to-be ex-husband, 27-year-old male, 3 months ago on the day our son was born. This is because I'm ginger. My husband's blonde, but our baby came out with dark hair. He freaked out in the delivery room, and his behavior got him kicked out of the hospital. I had to beg him to do a paternity test, and he finally agreed after a month. And it proved that I didn't cheat. We had been together since we were 13, so I was devastated, and all I wanted was him back. But I've come to my senses and decided that someone who believes the school-level pun and squares are the be-all and end-all of biological inheritance is not the type of person I want to be with. I was also treated like crap by everyone but my older brother Alex while we were waiting for the results because they all thought I had cheated. It was a horrible experience, and as a result, I've lost many friends and family members. Since the results came back, my ex has been begging me to get back with him. I moved in with Alex after we split, and he comes almost every day to beg me to get back with him. My in-laws have also been harassing me too, especially my mother-in-law, who has come over 4 times in the past week asking me to forgive her son and to let God back into my heart. I used to be a Christian, and so were all my in-laws and my family, but how I was treated when my baby was born made me lose faith fast. The whole church community treated me like trash during this whole ordeal, and it made me want nothing to do with them anymore, and I don't want to raise my son in that sort of community. Yesterday, my mother-in-law turned up to Alex's when he wasn't here, and she had the pastor from the church I used to attend with them. They practically forced their way in, and I was being berated like a child for not forgiving my ex's lapse in judgment. The pastor basically sat there and said I would be going to heck if I didn't take my ex back. I excused myself to use the bathroom and called the police. Pastor and mother-in-law were escorted out. Now I'm being harassed on social media and being called and texted by literally everyone that knows both me and my ex and his family. They're calling me the jerk for going nuclear and calling the police on 2 people who weren't being threatening, and they're demanding that I apologize immediately. I'm starting to feel bad now because I know they care in their own twisted way and I shouldn't have gone nuclear on them. Am I the jerk? I think OP feeling the way they feel at the end of this story is exactly the way they want OP to feel. They want to beat OP down emotionally and make them feel exhausted and like, maybe, I am being bad to them. OP is definitely not in the wrong here, and it's completely normal to have the boundaries OP's trying to set. This next story is, am I the jerk for not sharing my toys with my best friend's daughter? So my 31-year-old female, best friend Riley, 31-year-old female, recently just got a part-time job after several years of staying home with her daughter Ella, 6-year-old female. She and her husband Joe, 34-year-old male, haven't been able to get the childcare situation totally sorted out and needed a babysitter last Saturday. So I agreed to watch Ella for the day while Riley was at work. I've been sort of the cool aunt ever since Ella was born. I typically will bring small gifts or activities whenever I know that I'll be seeing her, which isn't all that often. Ella is a smart and engaged kid, and I like to give her things that'll interest her and keep her occupied. One important piece of information here is that I'm a very crafty person. I have a small online store and also work with local businesses for selling and distributing small batches of my product, hand-painted wooden figurines. I thought it might be fun to introduce Ella into my hobby/business, so I ended up bringing 10 unpainted figurines to choose from, a few tubes of acrylic paint, and some paintbrushes. We immediately got to work, and Ella was so into it. She had an absolute blast painting her turtle figurine. But when it came time for me to leave, I started packing up all of my supplies and Ella became visibly upset. Riley insisted that I leave the supplies behind so that Ella could keep and play with them. I disagreed and basically said that I have no obligation to give away any of my belongings. I personally feel like I was more than generous by babysitting Ella on my day off. I do have a regular 9-to-5 job as well, and providing a fun activity for her. Riley pointed out that I have a pretty large stock of items at home, which is true, but still, letting Ella keep the supplies and figurines would have been a loss in profit for my business. Ella cried when I didn't let her keep any of the stuff, and Riley argued that I should have never have brought toys over if I wasn't willing to let Ella keep them. Now, Riley hasn't been responding to any of my messages or calls, and I can only assume she's still angry over this whole thing. I thought I was doing something nice by babysitting and providing a fun activity. So I think OP bringing all the supplies over is fine if they take all the supplies back with them. I think whatever they make with the kid should probably get to keep, like the turtle figurine, which OP clarified they did let the kid keep the turtle figurine. I mean, look at it from a babysitting perspective. If you bring an activity bag with you, let's say you have board games or toys that kids might enjoy, are you expected to just leave that with each kid you babysit for and just get a new activity bag to start over with? I don't think so, especially not if you never intended to gift those things to them. Our next story is, am I the jerk for spending all my money that was supposed to be used to get us back home? My fiance's family invited us to go with them on a little vacation. They told us not to worry about money because they covered the Airbnb, so all we would have to pay for is gas. It's a 19-hour car drive. We arrived last Wednesday. My in-laws are so overbearing. Like, if I go and take a shower, they're knocking on the door within 3 minutes to check on me. If I go to the bedroom to have a minute to myself, they're yelling up to me within 5 minutes to see if I'm good. If I say I need to go for a walk to clear my head, they follow me and make it a family thing. If I want to go sightsee, they immediately get ready to go too, and coerce us to go to the sites they think I will enjoy versus what I would actually like. They sit there and talk to me and won't let me go to bed until after midnight, and then they're up knocking on the door at 6 a.m. to get me and my fiance downstairs for coffee. And they literally do not stop talking from sunup to sundown. I'm an introvert. I need space to refill my social bar. And since I've been here, I haven't had a moment to myself. I mean, not even being able to take a shower without being harassed is pissing me the freak off. I've talked to my fiance about it several times, and I've told him more than once I need me time. I need to stop being followed. I need to decompress. His way of combating this was to be up my butt 24/7 and continuously asking if I'm okay or to witch at me about how annoyed he's becoming, not helping at all. I've told him that, but after being followed when I was on the phone and having his mother try talking over the conversation I was having, it was the final straw. I packed my stuff and went to a hotel by myself. The $250 of my money to get home was now spent because I needed to get away before I lost it. My fiance knew I was beyond touched out, and I warned him that this was going to happen, but apparently he didn't believe me. So now he's shocked that I would do this and make everything awkward for him and spend my portion of the trip money. Am I the jerk? I think as long as OP's expressed how they feel to everybody here, and if they cannot respect those boundaries or those needs, then yeah, I think OP's completely within their right. I mean, I guess even to the extent that OP's being harassed here, they might not even need to necessarily explain themselves before going to this extreme. I mean, yeah, if you can't just go lay down for 30 minutes or take a shower without being harassed, I know that would drive me absolutely up the wall. Our next story is, am I the jerk for making an insurance claim against someone just trying to help me? I take my dogs for a run every afternoon to some fields about a 10-minute drive from my home. I load them up in the canopy in the back of my ute and pop the one window of canopy into the open position so my dogs can look at things and get some fresh air. The gas struts of the windows have failed, meaning the window no longer supports itself while open and drops down, so I wrap a strap around the inner strut to act as support, so the window doesn't drop down and close while going over bumps. I did the same thing that afternoon, but after getting home and dropping the dogs off, I needed to pop into the shops. Problem was, I forgot that I'd left the canopy window open while driving to the shops. On my way there, some bloke got out of his car at a set of traffic lights and runs over to my truck and attempts to close the canopy window for me, but because I braced it so well, he had to put extra force into trying to close it. I watched this all unfold in the mirror. It happened extremely fast, so I had no opportunity to tell him to stop. He put so much force into trying to close it for me that he completely shattered the window. The light went green, so we pulled over on the other side of the intersection. I got his details from him. He's 20 years old, driving an old 4-wheel drive, really nice kid. But am I the jerk for making an insurance claim to have the canopy replaced? It was an older canopy, so they couldn't make repairs. I do feel bad that he was only trying to help out, but in the same breath, I was left with a problem I never created. Should I have copped it on the chin? I left the window open mistakenly. He was just trying to be a good Samaritan and was extremely apologetic about it. He actually went back and cleaned glass off the road with a broom. He also cut his feet on the glass. Honestly, I myself can't really blame OP. A lot of people are saying, this is going to totally screw over somebody that was just a kid, he's 20 years old, and just trying to help out. His insurance costs are going to go way up for the next decade because of this. But at the same time, you had something working for you. They have no clue what the situation is. They shouldn't have rushed over and put their hands on your property, whether they think something's wrong or not. I mean, if this dude really wants to stop in the middle of traffic and go running towards a car, go up to the driver window and explain. Don't just try to He-Man some random person's window shut. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Am I the Jerk Here story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.